Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of VOIDWALKER Boot Sequence,
Hello.
the Dungeon Punk Dystopia for 5th edition, an original homebrew setting and system. And I am at Jack Panic. I'm Jake, and this is Nathan playing Z, the Chronomancer, divination wizard. We got Chester Whittlebum right here, old Bryce, playing a Lore Master Wizard?
Yes.
The Unearthed Arcana Lore Master Wizard. And then we've got the lovely Miss Tara Palmer with Lucy Fane, a badass gun monk.
Gun monk.
Gun monk.
Gun monk assassin.
Like John Wicky is kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
In your face. It's a Kensai, so she's doing Kensai build, and we're using our recaster guns, and she has the Tavern Brawler feat, so I let her other Kensai weapon be improvised weapons.
So anything.
Which is great.
She's just well,
I'm
no,
really
not specific
good.
weapons.
Yeah,
Like
I
if
guess
she wields
Not a weapon.
if she wields a weapon as an improvised weapon, she does so with disadvantage.
Like
Well,
if
if
I
she takes a
grab-
shotgun and is hitting people with
Or if I
it,
grab
it's
this
fine.
dinner
it's
plate.
fine. That's what I mean. So it's literally it picks
Yeah.
up. That's when you pick up a halfling and start hitting
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
Yeah,
Grab
for
this
sure.
dinner plate and or whatever. That's really fun. I really liked the idea of having
It's
to
amazing.
move really like quickly and like in your face, and the idea of just like grabbing whatever I could find around
And you're still
me
a
to,
monk,
like,
even if you have no weapons. You'll
Right.
still just be
Yeah.
able to beat
my
the hell out of
this
shit.
is my Kensai.
They're
Is it Kensai or Kensei?
Kensei.
Kensei?
I think it's Kensei.
Kamasei, Kamasa, Kamam, Kensei.
Somebody
Kamasei,
tell me.
Kamasa, Kamam, Kensei. Kamasei, Kamasa. I don't know. I can only assume that whatever I would say would be wrong.
I've said it differently each time, which makes me think that I
Kinsey.
should find out. I
Yeah,
keep
there's
saying
there's no A.
Kinsei.
Yeah, there's no A there.
No I in team.
There is no. There is a meat pie, and meat is an anagram for team.
That makes
I don't know why
sense.
he's going on about that. You've got right on
That's
you.
so true. That makes so much sense.
That's from
My
Shaun of the
life
Dead.
makes sense.
Okay,
now.
let's get going. Who remembers what happened last session? Nobody. That's good.
I was
Down
kind
to
of in
the
and out. I'm sorry.
Automator.
You did. Now the Automators, the catch-up our viewers, the Automators are a race of Simni. It's a new word, I mean it. Semi-omniscient, giant living factories that basically produced all of the technologies, the magic technologies of the golden era. You found that. You found a Megadwarf
We did.
whose name was Odos.
Odos.
He was like
Odos.
Sam Elliott, but as big as a wall. He was like, I don't know, 5 feet wide. I figured out today what I want because Megadwarfs will be a player race. I just figured out I want the Voidwalkers get that recharge ability. I want everyone to have I want all the Voidwalker races to have a cool 1-a-day ability that's slightly OP compared to but specific to setting, you know?
But specific.
But specific.
But specific.
I don't know what you're doing right now. What are you doing?
Being
Gotta
an
look
anxious
good behind
weirdo.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, don't point it out, please.
You're,
Just ignore me.
No attention to the girl with the curtain.
Please ignore me.
ignore the
No
person who's
attention.
walking around messing with stuff.
No attention.
It's distracting. It's okay. It's distracting. Are you done with?
It was trash.
But it's not trash, babe. It's my. This is the ring finger for the Thanos.
Didn't look good on the shot. Sorry.
Don't move stuff. You just
Sorry.
like always throwing away things. You're
Sorry,
like, I'm
I
done.
do.
You're done with this.
You don't need this, do you?
Um.
Sorry.
Cool. So you guys met a Megadwarf named Odos. I want to talk about the feature. They're going to be able to do a once a day. They can look at a creature or an object, and they can see mechanically the way the thing works. Meaning, in the metagame, they get to look at
That's fun.
if they look at a creature, they get to see that specific one, because I always make all my monsters have different HPs and stuff, so
Right.
they know the exact stats of that specific creature. Or they can look at another character's character sheet, or they can look at the thing inside the book that's specific to the thing, but only in terms of mechanical, gameplay features. They can't know they don't know anything about lore. They're not
Nice.
like they're about like how things work and not like necessarily why they work. So they met the Megadwarf. The Megadwarf, Odos revealed that he had this like workshop, and he's taken the Voidwalker Adam to help with his. He just referred to as a problem. He's doing something to Adam. You guys don't really quite know what, but Adam seems to trust him. And also, 10. He's upgrading 10. Her body, I guess, making her more of the way she sees herself in her image, in her self image, as opposed to like how she actually is. It's like a really bad metaphor for, I guess, trans people. I don't know.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. And you guys know that you basically you found this planet. So I'll just describe the setting. When you guys arrived on the scene out in the this sector of space, the Altas system, named after the giant planetoid that dominates the system. Altas is the planet that your the moon that you're on, the temple, is orbiting. It is quite literally the top part of it is cracked in half, and the whole of the planet is shrouded in a nebula of aether wave and debris. That's basically why this temple was built here on this moon, because the aether wave kind of hit it. Now that was hundreds of years ago, and the Odos kind of explains that to you. He like shows you on a hollow map. He like pulls out and shows the planet, and he kind of explains to you that this was one of the first instances. It was during a war. Over what, he can't remember, because like I said, they're not interested in that kind of stuff. But he knows that the planet was cracked during a conflict, and it was the first time before the corporations that people learned about the magical life force that all these planets have. So he describes Aetherwave in a very irreverent kind of way, and he talks in metaphors. Even though they're specific technicians, they always talk in kind of vague, cryptic phrases. Otherwise, they're not good NPCs. He basically says that each planet is a living creature, and the people who in this conflict learned that they could tap into it, and that's the source of magic. He refers to Altus as a dead planet, and that's specifically because all the aether inside of it has had a chance to bleed out and is cracked after it was cracked. Now, in modern contexts, like your family, Z, they were trying to figure out a way to safely crack a planet. Like, that was their intent. They were trying to figure out a way to dip into the core of a planet and siphon off the aether wave without throwing it off of its axis or smashing it in half. Before that, the main way of doing this was to quite literally evacuate planets and then bring in these Titan-class like planet crackers that would just like rip the planets in half and soak up all the aether. Just like a giant recaster, basically. They just like blow it up. They're the Death Star equivalents, but they were all created under the guise of obtaining energy. Most of those ships now siphon starlight, which is the consumable energy of the Voidwalker universe, because Aetherwave is kind of like the renewable, always permanent energy. Starlight is siphoned suns, so it's stars that they've siphoned energy from, and you can buy like power cores, starlight cores. And he's telling you all this, and you're like, yeah, we know this. Why are we interested in this? And he says, well, about 20 minutes ago, that dead planet started an energy signature spiked, and I can only assume it has something to do with you. So he's just like very matter of fact. He's just kind of fiddling with things and doing his, he's working on both of the two of your cohorts at the same time. He's like walking around the room, and he's moving, big pieces of machinery with his mind, and he's speaking to you, and controlling that little magical hologram map. And he basically explains that once a planet leaks, once all the life is gone, the planet dies, then that's how we get singularities in the Voidwalker setting, since it's all not actual science, it's all magic. So the idea is that the absence of these celestial, like, their spirits create these dead space pockets where black holes can form eventually. But most of the time, what you find is this is the source of what like is considered necromancy in this setting. So dead space is a place where magic doesn't work or doesn't work correctly. It's not like the Aether Wave, where the Aether Wave amplifies magic. It makes it much harder. It makes it so you can't use your magic. Magically powered items do not work. So your recasters won't work in dead space. Magic weapons lose their magic properties inside, or they're suppressed. You know, I mean, obviously they regain them if you go back out. If it's a permanent magic item, you go out of a dead space area. Ships. It's the same reason why like ships have power core, Starlight power cores reserves built into them. Those reserves work in. They're the only thing. The Starlight's the only thing that works in dead space. Okay. So effectively, Odo says that those pests, referring to the corporations, created a problem and then created a solution that required not only mining the core of a planet, but now all the suns, which is what the predominant, I was going to call them directly like they were going to be drow, but they're not that. I haven't named them yet. But the pale elves specifically want to blot out suns as part of like what their company does. And they are the main provider of starlight energy, which they are not sensitive to. The starlight energy doesn't, once it's taken from the sun, it doesn't count as daylight anymore, so they're not sensitive to it. Cool. So he's like, that's your exposition done. He says there's an energy spike on the planet. You can take my drop ship. He motions over to this D4 shaped metal structure that seems to be seamless. And as he does, a door kind of slides up out of it, light shining through. And he says this is just a planetary dropship. It's just it can get you down to the planet and around the planet. So you can actually use it to travel around the planet. He says once you exit the ship, the conditions will be dire. We're talking hardly no atmosphere or no atmosphere. Atmosphere is generated, can be generated in spots where there's still aether. So anywhere there's aether wave, there might be air, there might be trees. Parts of this planet will still look alive even though it's dead. The only thing that's keeping it alive is whatever's left over. This planet was, like I said, no one came here to extract the aether wave. It just erupted from it and is a result of a massive explosion from a man-made bomb. He says, okay, so you guys can go do that. Check that out if you want to. He says, I assume, I can only, these things tend to happen. Events cascade. So he's like, you're here. He's not interested in it personally. He just says you might be. Otherwise, you're welcome to just stay here, or you guys can leave your crew and you can figure out a way off of this temple and into the void.
Seems like we should check it out.
Yeah.
Decker, do you want to come?
Have we rested?
Yes.
Okay.
You full rest. Got all. You have all your spells back. The aether wave that creates this nebula has been magically pulled to it. So there's a reason that this still exists here. It's part of the Templars' cloaking device. They use the magic to obscure it. So so you actually can. This little moon counts as a planet for purposes of recharging all your spells and all your stuff. So.
No!
I dropped my die.
Damn it.
So you were saying we'll need to use the life preservers when we're on the planet?
He says that he's explaining all this, and he actually points over to some gear that you might need. Specifically, he has a form. It's a life preserver, but it works on Starlight battery packs, which are these big, chunky things that you have to strap to your back. They look like Ghostbusters. They're just like these big
proton packs.
So these and they emit like a 10-foot glow, and they're kind of cumbersome. There are bigger versions of them that are stored on ships, and the energy that would be used like on the ship is only ever used if you enter like a dead space pocket or if the ship goes offline completely. That's the backup system.
Okay.
But yeah, so he has like basically a spacesuit for you guys, and it's more or less just like a helmet, and then this like pack, and that kind of goes on, kind of clunky. You have to pay to recharge them, Mr. and Mrs. Finjack, 14. You have to go somewhere and give someone your gold. Everything costs something in this setting. It's a kind of oppressively expensive setting because how else are you going to deal with all the gold that people give if there isn't shit to buy all the time? So the packs he gives you, it's going to have a full day's worth of that. So it's basically a normal life preserver, and the Starlight pack gives you a full day's worth of life
Preservation.
How they recharge them if they are on the planet. Yeah, they can't. I guess they can't recharge them on the planet. They have to go to someone who literally like sells this.
Episodically limited to how long
Mhm.
we'll be on the planet.
That's true.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's like it's a built-in
Yeah.
storytelling.
It's like we have to actually do
Now it
things
is.
and not dick around. Damn
Now
it.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So as far I was answering
leash.
Finn's question. So yeah, specifically they have to go and like to a vendor and buy them, or alternatively, you guys could like we could do a quest where we're like we're gonna hijack a star, because there are stars that are being held under
That'd be cool.
by bad guys. I mean the corporations are all shitty, so you can steal from them without any moral reservation. That is like. We don't really have alignment charts, but that is a fact
Yeah,
here in
sticking it
Voidwalker.
to the man
It is
is
perfectly
still a part
fine.
of good. Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. Cool. So if you guys take the ship, as you step into the ship, he also points to on the table, and there's just like a hammer, like a big old-fashioned war hammer. There is a shield. There is just like a table of old medieval-style junk, and that's how you would think about it. Chester might care about it because of his anthropology angle or archaeology angle, but he points at it and says because, basically you have there are all parts of this planet where your magic won't work.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Well,
And am I to assume? Do I know what that will do to the recaster specifically?
Yeah, he said you were in the other room, but he specifically said that anything that's magically powered will
Just doesn't fire.
Basically, magic is suppressed if it has magic, but the idea is that it's like an anti-magic field. It's like
Okay.
you walk into the space, and it doesn't necessarily disrupt the normal activities. I almost imagine that once you move through it, you haven't lost any of your ammo. If you have things with charges,
Okay.
the only things that work in that space are going to be these Starlight power packs,
Yeah.
and you could potentially, if you had if 10 was here, she could reroute power from a pack into a recaster to make it work temporarily.
That's cool.
Could also blow it up. So it's like one of those. It's not a compatible energy, but you could in a pinch make it work in the way that Aetherwave does work. So as you gather up any gear you want, and I'm going to go ahead and say that there was a whole pile of stuff there, and I'm going to give you each 2 items. Oh yeah, I brought that, narratively. So while we're going through this dungeon, you can be like, oh no, I grabbed a rope off the table earlier so we can cross this pit. You each get 2 things in your pack that you remembered to grab.
Okay.
And you can just tell me through the flashback. That's what we'll call them. We'll call them 2 flashbacks.
great.
2 flashbacks.
You can also interchange those for information.
I like that.
Can I have asked a question?
Yeah.
I love that. That's fun.
Yeah, that's a fun
I'm gonna write
one,
that down.
Yeah.
Get your sticky notes.
Is there guns on the ship? There are no guns on this ship. This ship is just like a transport drop ship. And it is interesting in that it does not look very big. It looks about a little bit bigger than a van. But once you guys go inside, just like all the Megadwarf technology, it's a TARDIS. It's bigger on the... No bear traps, Del. Get out of here.
Get out of here, Dill.
Don't get out of here, Del. Just
Get out of here. Get out of here.
So the I grabbed 2 bear traps. He says, I grabbed 2 bear traps. That's funny. Yeah, we'll use that in Sunday too. That's a fun idea. But yeah, so you guys have 2 flashbacks. You can use them for an information or an item that was like off that table. When you go inside the ship is TARDIS-y. It's bigger on the inside than the outside. This one though is not much bigger on the outside. It's only about 4 times as big on the inside, and it's very much like if you were inside a very like organized, like a mechanical beehive is the way I think. Lots of like repeating shapes, lots of mirrored geometry, and this one is a little more rudimentary. This all has the feeling of this being more like a shed than a structure. It doesn't feel like a ship. That's maybe the biggest thing that I want. I want them to not even like, even the TARDIS feels too much like a ship compared to a Megadwarf's ship. They're not structured like we fly the thing. It's just like they press buttons and they don't have pilots on their ships. So they're probably like the rarest kind of ship to find a functioning one in the universe. Cool. And I would argue that you probably have to have like a straight up like Megadwarf, or have to like have learned how to like in your backstory. But this ship is just kind of like as you go inside, there's a table on a one of those like video screen tables, and it has like a little holographic map. And as you coast around, you literally just point at the places you want to go, boop, and it will. So there's no guns on it. Has limited, but because it has limited, like you can't. If something comes after you in this thing, you're fucked because it can go from point A to point B, but it cannot wiggle while it does it. There's no fly checks. It has a static AC of 10 and a static initiative of 10.
Great.
It's pretty fucking boring.
Cool.
Ask some more questions.
I grabbed information on where to find bigger bear traps. That's fine. I went back and I asked the guy. Okay, so you guys we'll have a scene of you guys traveling down to the planet. If there's anything you want to do, a little role play, or if you want to, I don't know. What you got anything before you want to land?
Not really, personally.
Very fun. This is riveting.
I'm
What are we going? What,
riveting stream.
what are we going down here for? Because
We're burning time.
Oh.
There was a signal. We're gonna go look at it.
There's a signal that showed up about 20 minutes after you guys landed on that moon. And the Megadwarf was aware of it because of Megadwarf, and said that nothing's happened down on that planet in an energy signature way in probably 300 years. So he says no such thing as coincidences. You should probably check it out. And he eyes your book specifically.
Oh, I see. This is exciting.
Probably not in like a roll an insight.
Probably
You can roll an insight on Homeboy before you guys set off.
No.
I'll tell
14.
you. Not because of like, oh, maybe he knows something about my book, but more so because he knows exactly what kind of thing that is, and he knows where it's from. He knows the era. You know, he's super familiar with magic of the pre-Voidwalker era.
Sure.
So he's kind of implies that whatever's making that energy signature is closer to that than any of this. So it's it's specifically there might be an interesting like archaeological find down there, and it probably correlates with you on some.
Fantastic.
You also are killing time. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. No. Yes.
Yeah. So
of course we're going down there.
So you guys are just getting yourselves ready. So we'll cut down to the. You guys doing your thing. The scan shows that there is.
You just want to be around if I find some of the rare treasure.
Maybe I do.
Well, I'm certain that's the reason. Otherwise, I don't know why you're here.
You're so suspicious of me.
Yes, you tried to murder me. So many times. How many times were we like strapped in? I imagine it's like how many times do we have to go over this?
19 was really.
And how did you not kill me? I'm not exactly a fighter.
I wasn't really trying.
No.
Finjack says, "Remember to take some food, guys."
Ah, yes.
Luckily, the ship is stocked with rations for one day, which is about as long.
For one day.
No, I'd say there's probably to Finn's point, there's probably a week's worth of rations for a crew of 6
on the ship.
Do we not have the little Star Trek things in this universe?
I think so, but I think they're mostly. You probably have never seen one except in adverts.
How did I heat my tea for all of these years?
Well, like most of the things you would get are single use. Like my favorite thing in Cowboy Bebop is the noodles come in a cup that have a ripcord, and whenever they pull the ripcord and the cup heats up, so they've built in the thing so that you have no reason to not eat it. I think that's wonderful. So I imagine that almost anything that you would buy, anything that is automator tech that's being sold to you
is disposable.
Is going to be is basically disposable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remind me one more time what the cola does? There was a cola that you made in this setting.
The cola gives you 1 HP. 1 temporary. Hold on a second.
I thought it gave me a dice roll.
3 vital heal drinks, 4d4
No.
plus something HP,
It's a
and
different
mana up.
She has something. She
Not
has
the mana up, but there
it's-
was a cola.
Yeah, she's talking about cola.
Don't have cola. Sorry.
It's okay.
I've got
Mana
it
up,
right
I think, is
here.
better.
No, they're
Mana
different.
up
They're
is,
different things.
Oh.
It's a spell slot.
Yeah, they're all different. Everybody, calm down. They're different things. I know what she's talking about. I'm just kidding.
You're being a little abrasive.
I'm not being abrasive. I'm being fun. I'm sorry. I did not mean to.
You didn't. I'm waiting on cola.
I know. It was just in front of me, and then my thing was like this.
I also
There it
have
is.
more details written down on my other sheet.
Vapor Cola.
Yes.
You may use an action to drink this tasty brown soda. You gain 1 temporary hit point, and gain a D4 that can be added to any attack, check, or save within the next 10 minutes. It's
That's
a
it.
bardic inspiration in a can.
1 HP and then a
No, not a bardic
D4
inspiration. It's a shitty inspiration in a can.
to a roll, to a check.
To any attack, check, or save.
Thank you. Attack, check, or save.
So you can add it to saves as well, which
Cool.
makes it
Pretty
actually
valuable.
be good.
Thank you.
Be good.
But obviously anything that looks like a soda and tastes like a soda, any of the stuff that heals you, having too much of it in too short of a time might give you constitution saves. You might get sick.
Okay.
Just chugging too many mana ups could have you could overcharge your spells. That could be like spell failure. I haven't really decided rules on that. More so, I think those kind of lean into more of like a role play idea.
Cool.
Coals. So you guys land, and when you do, the ship it's basically going to land at a neutral point, and you guys can kind of go look out. But there is a huge crevasse, a canyon of sorts that opens deep into this planet. This planet has a kind of a green haze of an atmosphere. You can see the dark of space. It is almost like what's left of the aether wave has trapped some light. It's kind of like an echo of what it was. And as you guys get closer to the edge of this crack, you can see that there are even some trees that still manage to have some life clinging to them. There are no signs of animals or anything, but they're just like everything looks kind of twisted and broken. But as you get to the edge of this cliff and looking down the canyon, it is like dried salt. It is this like thick and coarse and ruddy, and you can see different pillars of smoke and energy kind of sifting out of it. It's a very moody atmosphere, but you don't get the sense of like it's an open space until you go any further. You guys could take the ship down into, and it would try to land on the bottom, but it warns you that there is a chance that it might crash because it's just not made to.
Let's not do that. Is it? Wait. So can we like walk down? Or we climb?
Yeah,
down,
you guys can actually like scale the side of this canyon. It is like the Grand Canyon in the sense that it's got this big rift, and then there's all this catacombs of different levels of walkways and caves.
Okay.
The planet has eroded, and like as you walk through, even the rocks themselves look like Swiss cheese. There's just big holes cut through everything, and you can see where sand is fused into glass from an ancient explosion, and it's just kind of like this twisted landscape.
That's cool.
Happy place.
So let's figure out how many scenes you have before a day goes up. That way we can figure out how much danger you're in or how much time you have. I think that's the better way. Let's do a D12. Okay. You guys have 8 scenes before we conclude this full day. Remember, a scene you can push as long as your character keeps going, but narratively it gets harder if you don't cut to the next scene and eat up the scene.
Right.
So we're still on scene the very first one, and this scene basically ends when you guys tell me it does, or when something dramatic happens. But since we have a smaller crew, it's a little bit different. It's not like we're going to be cutting back and forth. It's going to be just you guys. So, and as you head down the cliffside, you
Before
start.
we leave, I'm going to cast Mage Armor
Cool.
on myself.
Yeah.
You as
Sorry,
well?
I've been doing that. Understood every time we finish a long rest.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's marked. That's I don't really care. 7 up tummy aches. That's funny. Yes, you. I almost imagine though that that's a perfect example of you guys as wizards. Like you've already set in the things, and you're you maybe just shake your head, and your mage armor is probably more like plot armor. It's more like you can see the things coming, so it's like your AC, because AC is both of those things. So it's less of force fields.
Yep.
And yours, on the other hand, is you have the thing you cast with. I like the idea of you having what is your? Did we ever establish what your focus is?
No.
Then let's say that this one will be a free flashback. The Mega Dwarf gave you a item. I have it right here.
Cool.
It is it's an arcane screwdriver. That's what I called it. I'll probably change that. Remember when Nicole had a scanner, and as that character, it's whatever you want it to be. It is a mechanical device that basically foregoes material components. It's a focus.
Sure.
It's a cool techie focus that allows you to cast magic. Just you wanted tools.
Yeah.
So it's as you get better at casting magic, as you start learning things, you can do it the old school way. But your character literally doesn't know those things because that's all protected knowledge.
Right.
So it isn't you want to learn how to cast without you're oh, I want to find a magic wand. That would just be immense. That would be that's research.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, bzz, you have these things. So when you do it, you're using an arcane spell. You're using an old book, and you're going through there, but you're having to replicate things with this device, however you want to picture in your head.
That's cool.
And when you do it, then it gives you the old school magic, like we see for a second, like a suit of armor.
Yeah.
And then it disappears as you walk through it into a puff of smoke, like Doctor Strange.
Sure. I like it.
Yeah. Thieves' tools. No thieves' tools. I don't know what you're asking about, Dell. What's Jimmy doing? Why isn't Jimmy should just be playing with us?
Yeah, why are you here?
He's probably
I
think he's probably at bowling.
No, that's probably. Okay, cool. So yeah, you have your new device, and you're that's much easier than.
Yeah, I still have my arm is messed up. I forgot about that.
Yeah, your arm's all
Gotta look in.
Would you say that does? I have to disadvantage on.
You have
something?
disadvantage on spell checks that require semantic gestures.
Yeah.
So you'll have to look at your spells
So
when you cast
all
them.
of them.
If it has the S tag or the
Yeah.
S, you'll have to roll with disadvantage.
Yeah, they all.
Taco Tuesday, of course, it's Taco Tuesday. I knew that. He always says Taco Tuesday. Duh, it's Taco Tuesday. Duh.
One spell doesn't have semantic buttons.
There you go. So.
If you guys need anything open, I mean, knocking on that door.
Once you get back to a populated system, you can find a cleric, or they have different med bots, and it just depends on how much you're willing to pay.
Hey, if we level up, you said the disadvantage goes away.
Yeah.
So that'll just be this cool wizard with messed up arm.
He did use the gauntlet. We can't.
It's definitely helping your cred.
Don't put in-game spoilers in my feed, Jimmy. That's not good. I know the band's lifted, but
I still haven't seen it.
the Russos, they lifted the ban. I think that's funny. Okay, so you guys are climbing down. You've got your armor on, and I like the idea the camera is trying to pull away from you. But since I assume you don't want you in this scene, why don't we go ahead and do a skill challenge to get you guys to climb down this mountain? Let's make it cool. We're gonna do 4. There are 4 checkpoints. There are 4 obvious as you start to climb. There are 4 sections you'll have to pass. The first one is just a steep climb, and it's going to require a strength-based save or a constitution-based save. Or not save, check. My bad. These are checks. You can use your rerolls and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
Athletics work.
Athletics. Cool.
And then what's the gravity like on this planet, just out of curiosity?
The gravity, it fluctuates. The closer you get to the dead zone, this crater, the more accurate, the more it feels like regular gravity.
Okay. So I think that Z was definitely going first, and he nabbed 1.
Nice.
So.
Do you want
no.
to say?
I don't want to do anything.
All right,
with
perfect.
that.
Yeah.
Let's lean into
Yeah.
it.
So you're like, all right, well, let's and there's
Let's start this
and like I
off
said,
right.
there are pockets of life that still exist, but it's this like twisted version of it. And you see there's a branch hanging out and a vine, and you're like, we'll just swing across. You're like, just like in the movies, just like in the hollow vids, and you just like, and as you go, it just like, and it rips because it's just hundreds of years old and not alive. Make me a dex save.
Okay.
We'll do the skill challenge differently. You guys are going to get down to the bottom. It just how much
20.
damage? How badly does it happen? Okay, cool. So yeah, you fall and you just there's more and more branches and you just grab onto them and whoosh, you're gonna land flat on your back.
Rainy. Come here.
And you're gonna take. You're gonna take 11 bludgeoning damage. Bludgeoning and slashing damage.
Oh,
Got a few little well-placed cuts. Very handsome cuts on
But I
you.
look great.
Right in the places where you
All
want
the
to cut.
dirt's in the right places.
Yes,
Um,
well done.
All right, so that is
Safe to come down now.
Okay, thank you.
that's 1 fail for Z. All right, Chester, you're next.
Okay.
There's a bit of a gap. It's a little less than 6 feet, and a good athletics check will get you right across.
Yes, I've got a good athletics check in me.
Okay.
12.
No, you're like, ah!
Wait, I'm gonna use a luck point. Let's see if I
All
can do
right.
this. No, it didn't.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, you guys fall down to the next. Oh God, the next checkpoint. Roll me a d4, please.
Oh God.
Well, on an odd, you land on him. On an even, you land next to him.
Odd.
Make me a dex save as he tries to land on you. You're gonna take 17
Done.
bludgeoning and slashing damage.
Do I get a dex save?
You know what? I'm gonna use a luck point.
Yes, yeah, make a dex save.
Damn it. 15.
Those 2 natural ones.
No,
so,
no.
This dice is done.
Oh no!
You'll
Go
take
to
half
jail.
damage. You'll take half damage.
Great.
Or you'll
Put
take
that die
full.
in
You're gonna
jail.
take full of his damage. You're gonna
Absolutely.
take half of whatever damage he took, because he's crushing you. So you take. What did it said 7? You take. Let's just say 8 damage,
Okay.
and yeah, you take 4 damage.
4. Okay.
I'm terribly
Yeah.
sorry.
That's a fail for Chester.
It does look a lot closer until you actually jump, and then it's much farther away.
All right.
I thought this ground would soften
Lucy.
when I fall.
You gonna make
Yeah.
me? You wanna just do a running jump? What's your? You're a monk. So
yeah, I
let's-
was getting ready to say
let's
if I
figure
can
out how far you
use
can run.
slow fall,
Yeah, you
Kind
could
of a
just.
shame.
I think you might get an
Defense
auto
spell.
success on this.
I can just run and jump if you'd like me to.
Yeah. Jump
I
calculator.
feel like I do a little bit of like an Aladdin from building to building kind of thing.
Or like Aladdin in a new
Over
trailer
Jas-
flipping
no,
while
when
you're grabbing
Jasmine,
something.
sure. When
But-
Jasmine does it, and Aladdin's like, "Let me show you how to do it," and then she
Yeah,
just
she's
flips
like
over the
leaps.
top of him.
How tall are you?
Not thinking about it. 5'7",
What's your strength score?
14.
This is good. We should just figure out what your jump is. You're a monk, but you aren't using Step of the Wind right now, right?
Well, if I'm just making a check, I can, but
I tell you what, if you burn a key point and use your Step of the Wind, you don't have to make a check. You can just auto succeed.
Step of the Wind is disengage or dash. Can I use slow fall?
No, Step of the Wind also doubles your jump.
Oh, okay, I see.
Do you understand what I'm
Sweet.
saying?
Yeah.
Instead of you making a check,
Let's
if
do
you
it.
burn your key point, you can just because your
Yeah.
long jump is 28 feet horizontal.
Great, I'm gonna long jump.
Yeah, so
Across it.
with 10 feet of movement, you can just so she just jumps across. So you don't have to spend any points, and it counts as a success.
Yes. One of these. with
We
one
are
of
at
those,
the
same
next impasse. Like you guys have landed on this area, and you get up. You can take a short rest if you need to. Here, this
I'll have one of these stupid colas you gave us, I guess.
Okay.
It's been enough damage that it's worth it. You guys go ahead. I'll be right up. I need a refreshing beverage.
We can wait on you.
I
Okay.
think it's very important that we all stay together.
Yeah, you
Drink
might
up.
take that a little too close to heart, Chester.
The next section is you have to cross a long gap in the ravine, and the only way across it is a very old and crude bridge made of a petrified tree that was put here hundreds of years ago. It's got enough rock debris around it that it's almost a structure. You don't have to worry about falling off, like it rolling, but it is old and it is pretty narrow. So this would be a acrobatics check to get across. Once again, I'll let you spend a key point.
Can I just jump?
You can do your step of wind as long as you spend a key point on this
Okay.
one. You can. Are
Okay,
you
cool.
marking those down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Really speak.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so she's like, yeah, we'll wait on you, and then she just like jumps and runs across the thing,
Okay.
and you're on the other side. Chester, do you want to go next?
I'm gonna cast Reduce on myself.
Nice.
Smart.
Alright. Cool. When you do that, how long does reduce last? Like an hour? 10 minutes? One turn?
Up to a minute.
Yeah, you can make that acrobatics check or dex check at advantage because you are now half the size. It does take you a little bit longer, but you're under no time rush, so he shrinks.
Booyah. Not nat 20. Cool.
Yeah.
I got it. Running across.
I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier.
All right. You finish slurping down your soda.
Yep.
What are you doing?
I mean, it's a semi-stable, probably old-looking log.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of cautiously balance beam across, being
Sure.
prepared to jump.
Make me an acrobatics or a dex. I'll have it.
17.
Okay, perfect. You guys cross. No big deal. Everyone roll a perception.
18.
9. No.
Oh my god. Sorry,
That's okay.
grabbed the wrong thing.
23.
Okay.
8.
Yeah, you're too busy running across, and
This is so much farther than it looks.
you don't see it either, Lucy. But as you're running across, you run, and then all of a sudden you see a spear hurling its way at you, and you step back. And as it hits the thing, you realize that it is not a real spear, but rather a spear that could have been thrown at you. And you stop and you look over and you see two red orbs in the darkness, like light reflecting off of them, and they step back. Yeah. So you weren't actually attacked. You were able to kind of detect the attack because you saw it before it happened.
Yeah. How far away would you say that was?
How small do you think you are right now? That's what Dell wants to know.
I'd say
It's like half your
I'm a whole
size.
it says your whole size smaller.
So you're a small size creature, so you're at least 2 or 3.
I'm like 2 feet tall, probably.
What are you doing, sir?
How far away are they?
Good. It was up on the cliff line where you guys were, so a good like 45 feet up.
Okay.
But like right where you were.
Okay. Cool.
But you make your way across, and this next area is a flat, steep climb. There are handholds, and you guys can work your way down the slope. Bless yourself.
Bless you.
Bless yourself. That's what I
Bless
said.
yourself.
I don't know what that means.
Bless
Bless
yourself.
yourself. And as you can climb down, but it's just like almost the angle of the cliff is almost tipping you back, and it's going to be a full-on constitution roll, just pure on like force of will, getting yourself down this wall.
Dope. All the things that I'm bad at.
I will say because you are, you'll have to de-unsmall to like.
Oh, it is.
It's only a minute, yeah. So.
Blah, blah, blah.
Conning down the hole.
It's not hard. There are lots of like cracks. You can see like fissures run all the way up it, but some of the places it would almost require strength, but then it's just a matter of like getting to a point and stopping. So there's all these little places where you can rest, and the real feat is doing all of this continuously without taking like long breaks, because you guys are just not like you're not fucking free solo climbers.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I'll let you use an athletics in place of that if you have.
does Fred as a familiar require an exosuit?
They're
magical.
They are, but they're technically animals.
Okay.
So, yes, they require some sort of atmosphere.
Flashback. Adorable moment. We've outfitted Fred
Let's see
with
it.
some sort of exosuit.
Yes. It's like he's getting fitted for it.
Nice
Absolutely.
You're putting him
flashback.
in it. So cute.
It's adorbs.
Hold on a second. Let's give you a permanent solution if we can. Had the time of my life.
She's a monster.
She
She's
is
a monster.
it's
She's
true.
not chill today. She has no chill.
What level is water breathing? It's a 3rd level transmutation. Water walk is a 3rd level. You have 4th level spells?
No, we're still at 3rd.
Okay, cool. Then yes, you find an adorable little suit made for some sort of like 6-legged like
Right.
space bug, but it works just fine. The Mega Dwarf just like takes it in his hand and is just like moving, and then all of a sudden it fits in perfectly, and it's
Perfect.
it's cute.
So now at this challenge point, after having this adorable moment of puppy time,
What up, Rico?
Fred is going to scramble down first and
Okay.
try to find the purchases and path down with,
Sure.
so that we perhaps could have advantage while going down.
Okay, yeah, for sure. And he does that, and you're able to all take advantage on that, knowing exactly where the ledges where you can rest and the places where the best path down. You don't have to do any of that trial and error. He's able to climb, and even when he falls, he's able to scramble. There's no fear of him. I don't know if they have a climb speed, but he can. Because I think he's a badger technically, and I don't know if a badger have a climb speed, but I feel like a ferret should. So I feel like he should have a climb speed. Maybe he can't do a badger thing. I don't know what badgers can do.
I think he's technically a weasel. is what I
Weasel.
made him.
Yeah, there you go. Weasel. So weasel should have climb speed. It's fine with me. I don't care either way.
Okay,
So, yeah,
cool.
he's climbing up and down. Yeah, that's fine. He gives you.
He's advantage. Jeez, that's a shitty advantage. Con? Right, yeah, that's what you
Con, or I would let you do an athletics if you have.
said. Okay. Then lovely 12 of athleticing.
Okay. You want to portent that, or
Yeah, I'll do the minor portent thing first. Try that. Jesus Christ, this dice is broken.
We need inspiration.
it is broken.
Sure.
Yeah, take
You
one.
have
Mine.
one?
I do.
This is absurd. Okay, there's a nat 20.
Yay!
Yeah, so you just like kind of, I almost like that you slip and you fall, and then like you then see the better option, and you're able to kind of like get, and then like the rocks kind of break, and you slide down, and it's like a controlled chaos of like you just like barely getting to the next spot. When you get down there, Fred is gone and should make me a Constitution save
Yay,
off
Fred.
screen.
Fred's got a -1.
Oh,
Fred rolled a 7.
You can no longer sense Fred.
Damn
Oh,
it,
shit.
Oh,
Fred.
no. Fred.
You got now are on this like area that's closer to the bottom. You now have to basically go down this ramp, this made of this earth ramp that kind of runs down. There's some slate that's fallen over that can make for bridge. It's like you'll have to create a bridge through this terrain, but if you look at it, it's a pretty obvious. And you can even tell that maybe even people have been using this, or creatures have been using this at one point as a walkway. As you get into this space, make me a dex save as you're yelling, Fred! Fred! Are you guys following up behind him?
We have to get down the thing, don't we?
No, yeah.
13
Go ahead and
saves.
yeah. Go ahead and make your checks. My bad.
Oh, do I need to?
I just was like, oh, you guys all did it. Chester, get down that wall. Make me a con save.
I want to use a flashback.
Okay.
And have pick up some climbing gear.
There is a grappling gun.
Cool.
Sweet.
Could I use survival to use that to get down? Like as like a rappelling kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
It's an action to fire it. It has a cord of 120 feet, and it is an action to recoil it, and it recoils at a speed of like 10 feet per round. So it's not super fast.
Right.
It's not. It is a big like rig kind of thing, and you have to like hook it to your belt. It's not like a. It's not a Batman grappling gun. It's this like
For sure.
almost like a portable ballista. You can't use it.
Inspiration point.
It does have an attack ability.
There we go. That's all great. Thank you for that.
Cool.
I spent some stuff, and I got a 21.
Do you want to use your slow fall ability? That's
So
if
it's a reaction. Can I just use
you
the
just
key
spin
again?
You spin another key, and she just literally like slides down the wall, like just
Arm.
guiding herself, just jumping down. Like
I
you were
parkour my
you
way
were
up,
finding
like,
the
at the
things and like
bottom.
stopping, and she's just like pop pop pop. Parkour.
And
You
that
get to the
flashback.
bottom. You get to the bottom, and just as you guys are getting to the bottom, he's about 30 feet away from you. Well, where are you, Fred? And a whole barrage of spears launch at you. Some spherical spears. And what was your dex save?
13.
13. Yeah, you hear screeching.
Mm-hmm.
And does anyone know deep speech? Okay.
No.
And you see where the attacks come from. They're popping up like out of these holes I described that are all inside of the edifice of the rock. You can see that like whatever these things are, and as what'd you roll? I'm sorry, 12. Yeah. Most of the spears miss you. Save one. That's gonna do 7 damage.
Okay.
It just nicks you. It doesn't like compel you or anything. It kind of like just knocks you back. And roll a perception. You can all roll a perception as you're looking around.
Nat 20 again.
Okay, cool. These are, you can see them now. There's a whole tribe of these like creatures, and they look like they are what's left of the indigenous like Xenos of this place. So the Xenos are the 4th player race of the setting, and it's a catch-all for all non-realm specific creatures.
Cool.
So they're like, I think that I'm gonna have a subclass that will allow them to take on different elemental aspects. So like they will be like a Xeno who has like a fire motif or like an acid motif or something like that.
Cool.
And then the other one will be kind of like the Simic Combine. It will be like an adapted feature, so you can play a character with 4 arms, but a character with 6 eyes. You'll be able to pick,
That's cool.
cherry pick a thing that makes your guy look alien, and then you're able to reskin it any way you want to make it.
Cool.
So I was explaining to Tara that Xeno is almost like just a phrase that's used. These would not be the same creature as a Xeno from another planet,
Right.
but that's just what everyone on realm is called.
That makes sense.
And these creatures specifically live here in this like half-dead crater, and are just protecting themselves. That is the kind of the vibe. I mean, they're trying to kill you, but
Right.
they're not in league with anybody. These are just
Right.
Can you explain what these look like again?
yeah. These creatures have 4 arms. They have skin tones ranging from teal to purple, and they all have big round insectoid-like eyes, like flies.
Okay.
And they have humanoid mouths,
Ooh.
and they look like Baxter Stockman from the old Ninja Turtles cartoon.
We should be their friend.
Finjack says we should
Okay.
make friends with them.
That's not a bad idea.
And that is why this is still technically a skill challenge and not combat. But go ahead, now that you're down here, make me a dex save as they're going to toss spears at you. Popping out of the... and tossing spears. And Chester, when you get back, if you'll make a dex save for me as a spear comes hurling towards you.
Oh my gosh.
Also, Z, make me a constitution save, please.
18 deck save.
Yeah, you dodge out of the way.
18.
Nothing hits
Roll.
you. Yeah, 18. Yeah,
Sorry.
so both of you like get down. You've got to use your action to pull the thing, but as you see it, the spear comes and you're trying to retract the thing, and you kind of like and you use it to like pull you up 5 feet, and it misses the spear.
Jeez.
3.
Oh no.
You are poisoned.
Oh no.
As per the condition, poisoned. Roll a d4
1.
for 1 hour
Yay.
or 1 scene.
As someone who is proficient with a poison kit,
So at the
would
end
I
of
be
this scene, it'll be done.
would I know anything about like creating an antidote or something that could unpoison him?
Yeah, but not like this
Not like
moment.
right,
Not
okay,
this
okay.
moment where you're being
Right.
spears being chunked at you, but
Right. But if he's poisoned, if he
potentially, yeah.
stays poisoned, I might be able to help him.
Yeah. I mean, you could use that in lieu of like a medicine check since it's a specific
I see.
like skill.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. So you feel it like it only barely scratched you,
Right.
but there's something something they tipped it. You know this thing works.
Yep.
And you're like, oh shit, and you like kind of like lurch over, and they kind of are like still they're readying themselves. They are disappearing from your sight lines though. They keep like popping like whack-a-moles
Right.
into these like caverns, and you can hear them like echoing like was like all around you like hooting, and but you can't see all of them. And as you get further down into the crater, it gets darker and darker. It's dim light down here now, so if you don't have dark vision, it's exceptionally hard to see these creatures because
Yeah.
it's dark.
I do have dark vision.
Cool.
I do not.
Sure don't.
The packs give you 10 feet of light,
Okay.
so you've got 10 feet all the time.
Okay.
You've got dark vision. You could, if you were to make it, you could make an attack roll against one of these creatures because you can see where they're popping in and out of. If you wanted to,
Are they bad guys? Are they hostile?
They're throwing. They just threw daggers. They just threw
Oh,
spears
I'm
at you.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm with you.
I'd like to try.
Huh?
What do you want?
Grana Weepna Ninny Bomb. Roll a persuasion.
What do you want?
Nat 20.
Whoa!
So 23.
The one of the creatures, one of the Xenos, who was behind you, like in the rock, kind of like puts forward and was about to stab you, and you're like, "What do you want? What do you want?" And the the creature behind you says, "We speak common. We speak the common tongue. We are not fools." And it like throws down its dagger, and it jumps on you and is going to like try to like wrestle you. It's no longer like
gonna hug it back.
yeah.
Great. We
yeah.
do
So
too.
he pins you down, and he's kind of like off put by your limp fishness.
Same.
Yeah. He's like he gets up and he barks something at a handful of other ones, and they kind of like pop up and out. They just are like out of the shadows. These guys. All of a sudden, there's 15 of these Xenos hanging out all around you.
Okay, well
There are lots
I'm
of you.
shooting them. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait.
What? No.
What?
Yeah, they just attacked you.
We're talking to them now.
They just hugged.
He did
We
not-
hugged.
He did
You're
not
doing
hug
what-
you. He attacked you.
It's,
Roll your attack.
Sorry.
it's a hug.
Lucy would shoot them all.
Lucy, no.
15 of them came out.
That's fine.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm aiming at the one who's on you, but
Okay. And
carefully.
I'm in mid scream. Lucy, no. So.
Cut. I'm gonna hear you. Sorry.
Wait, stop! No!
I'm not gonna use ghost though. I'm gonna just
Use what?
a slug thrower that I have.
You have one gun. You haven't even said anything about that other gun in such a long time.
Yeah, I've had it as part of my attacks on every sheet that I've used.
Okay.
You just said that magic. I don't want to use ghost because my magic gun might not work.
No, you would know if you were in a dead space. It's like walking through like it's the equivalent of the Upside Down or the Shadowfell. It's like Silent Hill. It's like you walk into a space and then all of a sudden you're in this like creepy like magic.
So I feel like ghost would work.
everything
right
works.
now in this moment.
Everything's still working.
Okay.
If they can cast spells, you can
True.
certainly use your gun.
Okay, cool. Well then, it is a 19.
I don't think you have that slug thrower anymore.
Okay, well you never told me I didn't have it.
Okay, you can keep
It's
it.
fine.
I just don't know where.
I don't need to have it. I have a dope gun that has a better attack.
I
and die.
forgot you even had that.
Will you let me
I didn't.
spend an inspiration point to step in front of this bolt and cast shield? Or can I just do that as
Yeah, you can use an interrupt.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
So you're gonna take one for the team.
There you go.
It's gonna do it too.
Well, makes my AC 20.
Uh-huh.
I know you rolled a 19, so I...
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. So I love it. So he steps in front and he stops the
Would
blast.
you just wait for 2 seconds, you murderous
roll your
one!
ammo die. What was your gun? Your gun
My
can be.
ammo
Your gun
die.
can have been back at its max.
Okay. 6. So it's still
Yeah.
a D8.
Still a D8. Cool. Yeah. So you blast, and when that happens, all the Xenos that were like chanting and like holding up their spears, they all just drop their weapons, and they bow on the ground. And all of them are like they're saying something in the language. Wana wa, wana wa, wana wa. And they're just
This was easier than Lucy thought it would be.
and
That was fun.
the thing is like we'll take you. It's like he's like we'll take you to the shaman. We'll take you to the leader.
Great.
Yeah.
We love going to leaders. That's
Yes.
what we do.
That's what
Take
we're
us
here
straight there.
for. We're emissaries.
So they
That's
lead
better
you,
than
and that'll
killing all
be
of
the
you
end
to
of
have
this
to do
scene. You're no longer poisoned.
Great.
Let
We're
this
now
be an
on
important
scene
life
7.
lesson.
You guys make your way into. You follow them, and basically they're walking along the very bottom of this gorge. It's almost like a crack all the way down, and there's this almost 10 to 20 feet wide pathway littered with bones of these creatures. It's not like creepy. It's more like they've built their own culture here in the middle of nowhere, surviving on really small, weird-looking animals that you see all around. Also, you've been reunited with
that
Fred.
was my next question.
Yeah, Fred. They hand you Fred. He's got
Great.
Good, you're back.
he's got this dart in him. He's just unconscious. So he wakes up after the scene ends, and he's fine
Wake
at the
up,
beginning
little
of the scene.
guy.
What interesting creatures.
And they are leading you all the way around. In order for me not to cut to another scene, I need you guys to figure out something interesting to make this not just a montage to the next scene.
what are we?
Can I roll a nature to see if I can tell anything about their like weapons, like how they're poisoned or like what
Certainly.
they use to poison them?
Yeah,
Like,
you sure can.
because we're on like a derelict planet. That's a lot. 26.
Nice.
Perfect. You can tell that their weapons are made from some sort of rock or stone. You can't classify it, but it seems to be dropping, like producing a dark, mucusy liquid that you're not familiar with the stone, you're not familiar with the thing, but there's something about it that the back of your head, you're like,
Might I see one of your small blades? I find it quite interesting.
the only one that speaks the common tongue is that main one, and everyone else, when you try to interact with them, they stick when you like reach for the blade, they like try to put it in your face. Yeah.
I have no
Do
idea.
you have a name? One who speaks common?
And he's like,
The one who speaks common.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, cheesy.
Parcheesi.
Parcheesi.
That's what we shall call you.
He's like, I don't have a name. I don't have a name as you have them.
Cool. That's always exciting.
Parcheesi it is.
So you guys are native to this planet?
He says, we have lived on this planet since before the Great Scar, and we are the inheritors of this place, set to guard it and guard the Great Wonder
Lucy looks around.
until sojourners come from the stars.
Ah,
Lucy looks around at this piece of shit place and says, "Congratulations."
it's nice. It has charm.
Bye,
I didn't see
Finjack.
it.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll come back and see us sometime. We have
Bye.
a game on Sunday as well, 7:00. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. You.
They're
I
inheritors
need
of this
something.
place.
I need something from you now. They've all prolonged the scene by engaging in conversation. You said you had a little flippant remark. Do you want to try to have a moment where you try to out?
I just wanna ask who their leader is. He said, "Who's in charge here?"
He specifically says, "I'm taking you." What did I just call it? They call it
Shaman? Inheritors?
The Great Wonder.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, the Great Wonder. So,
Who is this great wonder?
this is our God, and with that, we'll end the scene, and that takes us to scene 6. They lead you into what seems to be a non-natural cave, a cave that was literally made by the earth being thrown up into the sky and then landing back down. So the scar is kind of opened up, and you can see that you're led into this space where there's all this aether wave that's coming up out of the ground, almost like in natural geysers. And among this, there's all these trees, and these trees don't have that like broken down property. There's a little bit of an oasis that's in the middle of all this that they have kind of guarded, and beyond the trees, you can see little like buildings and structures, real rudimentary tents and that kind of thing. And as you are led through the town, you see their children and their families, and there's just like a little
It's a whole community.
here. They lead you to a structure that does not look natural. If you guys want to roll a Arcana, if you have Arcana, an Investigation, if you have Investigation, or a History, if you have History.
21 of Arcana or Investigation.
Which one are you doing?
I think with all the Aether Wave, probably Arcana.
Okay, cool. And what'd you roll?
22 history.
Cool. This is some sort of golden age tech.
Okay.
It's definitely a magical. There are magical systems in place. As far as to what it does, it's hard to tell because it's been damaged beyond repair. But the locals here have turned it into some sort of temple. You can tell that they've carved out, they've basically turned it into a structure. You're kind of like looking at it, looking at the systems, and as he points out these magical systems, you're like, well, this looks just like. And then you turn your head and you like look at it on its side, and you're like, that's a bomb.
I feel like Lucy is just counting on you guys to disseminate all of this information because
Yeah, they're saying
she's like,
this.
this is
Chester talks out loud.
all very
like,
new
as,
to me.
like,
Yeah.
The whole
I
time,
really am
just imagine him
imagining
like rattling
everything
off
he
information.
says in Chester's voice.
Yeah, like.
But it
just
is
rattling
decommissioned.
off.
It's not like it does not work. This is not the energy signature. This is just a bit of history. That's
This is
just
a Planet of the Apes moment.
yeah.
Okay.
Lucy's just being very concerned and asking you to explain what's happening. How do you know all of this?
Books. Lots of books.
The Books Brothers.
Yes, we did it.
Don't do that.
Um,
Thank you.
Right.
the leader of these the warrior leader of these people basically like motions with all four of his hands that you go inside, and when they do, they all kind of bow, and there is a like beaded curtain. It's like someone has put up like shells and like
Fantastic.
Yeah. And as you go inside, the smell of incense and the and body odor kind of fill the space, and you hear a kind of a tired voice. Her voice hasn't spoken in a while. Say like, go like leave me here alone. Like I have to commune with the great wonder.
Yeah.
And, like.
Cool. We're not one of them. What's going on?
And as your eyes adjust to the room, there's a very faint glow coming from this creature's. He's got like netting and like a shaman like vibe, but it's all like repurposed like merc gear. So it's like a net that he cut up to look like a Shaw, and he's got a staff, but it's made out of old computer like parts. And he looks up and holy shit, you know this guy.
Wow, what are you doing here, you little pirate?
Who's this guy?
Ned Dark Sky is the name I gave him.
That's his name.
Dark Sky. Tell me more.
Oh, that's a name I haven't heard. Well, that's a lie. I've been reading my diary today.
Oh, good. You always did keep that diary up to date, no matter what.
It's just the things I wish I had, and none of the stuff I did.
He can't give up now. He's been doing it for so long. You know.
He's
Keep
basically
up the
he's
documentation.
like, what are of all the shit planets and all the shit systems? He's like, how did you find yourself? He basically is like, oh, you're crash landed here too, huh?
Actually, no.
He's like, and with that he perks up, and he's like, well then this really is my lucky day.
It looks like it. Not to mention you still being alive.
And he says, well, he's same to you. And he says, I was worried about you. I had meant to come back and check up on you, but I crash landed here.
Oh.
These are great pleasantries, but who are you, and how do you know
Ned
him?
Dark Sky.
Yeah, so he basically
Your old crew?
so he's
You had a crew?
this dwarf.
Pirate.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. You got a crew.
Ah,
You got a
part of your old
business.
pirate crew. Okay.
That's why you were on Folly.
Right.
Right?
He is
okay.
specifically he said we used to run a lot of scams together. We used to be the best comment on this side of Folly. He says we used to steal from everybody. Didn't matter who did it. Z.
Well, now what are you?
Trapped.
Yeah. wash it
And
up.
you look around this space, and he has pulled every piece of technology that he had on himself, including his ship, apart, and has been trying to build relays, ways to communicate out. But he's been trapped here. So I've been trapped here for the better part of a year. And then he looks at you and goes, I mean, I've been here for years.
Oh.
He's like, I can never lie to you, Z. He's like, I'm really think a dwarf, but it's Bill Murray. That's this character.
That's what I think every time.
He's got kind of like a befuddling charm about him, but he's not trustworthy in the least, and he doesn't try to when he's saying his things, he's not trying to apply any deception skill to you. It's more like he's
just full of it.
Yeah, and he's kind of like bumbles around, but it doesn't fool Z. Z knows his games. He's he's seen him. He knows that he's a cutthroat and that he's they're very close. So this isn't really something you don't need to roll insight checks on this so much as ask him if this character can be trusted and stuff, or how he feels about it at least. He says, I took up. I found these people down here, and I figured that I could use their help, or they could use my help, and I took precedence as their local shaman. And it's like I just basically showing you like readouts. He's like this shell of this bomb is centered over a crater, and he basically is like he shows you a hatch. It's like somebody built shelter underneath this a long time ago. So this is unrelated to these people. He says that there's more to this bomb. He says it's not just like a structure. He says it's a whole thing. It's a planet cracking bomb. And he says, and whatever is inside of it is giving off some sort of corrosive, necrotic radiation that is dangerous. He says, well, I've been basically trying to keep these people from they'd send their young in to see the great wonder, and I've set up shop saying that I'm the shaman and they can't go see it. But in the meantime, they've been helping me with my projects. So it's a little like quid pro quo, and he kind of shows you the apparatus. He's like, I've been trying to extract aether wave from the atmosphere to try to activate these relays, but
are there any working relays there?
He says the relays are in fact fine. It's the power source that's the issue. So he says those starlight packs you've got on you look pretty nice, and you'll notice that inside this valley where you're at, there is atmosphere. So these creatures, the Xenos, have no problem not being inside the atmosphere, but this valley with the trees is like you could. He's not wearing anything, so he's like walking around and like.
So is the signal thing that sent us down here to begin with one of his things? Was the signal that started?
He seems to not know what you're talking about. No.
Cool.
He says I haven't been able to get a signal off the planet. He says
great.
It's my right. He's a little suspicious of you. He's like, you've come here. You know, maybe you guys we cut and we'll keep this the same scene. You guys are talking to him and he maybe dishing out a bowl of soup or whatever weirdos in cabin like these things do. Like, I've been living here. Here, have this.
Instant noodles or whatever he has on hand.
He just has like they're like old like tree bark stew and like he's been living like and there's these big like space slug things that these people eat. Ew. And he's like they're pretty gross once you get used to them. And he's just like like what did you ask him specifically?
It's basically the signals.
Yeah, he says that he doesn't know what you're talking about. As far as like signals goes, he hasn't been able to get anyone else. What he's been having these people do for him is scour the parts of the planet that he can't go to help try to find power sources. He says there are derelict vessels all along this ship. Along this planet. This planet was involved in apparently in a big conflict a long time ago. So there's lots of like buried tech, just like this thing. He says I found this, and then that's how I got the idea. I saw the structure. I was like, but there has to be power sources. But he's like, but if you give me your starlight packs, he says I can get this thing up and running, and that would be cool. Or he's also like, you could just give me a ride. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll see. We're down here for another reason. You said there's an entry to this great wonder.
Yeah, he says I wouldn't go down there though. He says I'm not sure what it is. It's off the charts on our dosimeters, and it's maybe in your containment suits. He says maybe with your life preservers you'd be fine, but he's I wouldn't go down there.
I assume we have some sort of little tracker for this relay signal.
Yeah, you guys have been following this the whole time. Yeah, it is emanating somewhere below this valley.
Right.
So this is where you need to go. for sure. He's just trying to talk you out of it because he you can roll an insight on him if you'd like.
I'm good.
He is genuinely has not inspected it.
Right.
That is the vibe you get from him. He's not concerned about it. He just knows that any of the creatures that come out of it are very sick afterwards, and that they change, and then they turn into these like feral beasts that kind of roam the other side of the mountain, and they don't respond to the other Xenos. And he kind of interceded. He basically used his knowledge of like the greater things, the greater scheme of the universe to like convince them that he was sent to protect them from this sickness. And he's literally just been like, I'm doing prayers, but he's been trying to like run his own thing.
Well, you sound like you're doing all right. We'll be back in a little. We need to go check this out. You might want to come up with a better story about the last years by the time we're back here.
He says, I've been trying to come up with I came up with that one, and it took me this long, so I doubt I'll find anything better. He's like, all right, well, have fun dying.
It's lovely to meet you.
Good to see you.
And as you guys go down, he closes the hatch behind
He
you,
doesn't
and
say
you
anything.
hear the loud spin of the wheel and the thud and a click.
Stone-faced.
So you're locked in.
Cool.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe there's a release hatch. We'll see on the way back up.
Yeah.
You guys,
Wait.
do you want to try to open it back up? Are you worried about that?
Not at the moment.
Lucy's a little curious about that. Like, it just closed and we didn't talk about how. Yeah. Can I like twist it? Or
Yeah, you get there's a release handle, and you at first it doesn't budge, and you're like, motherfucker, and it's just rusty, and it clicks, and
Oh, okay.
and he's like, yes,
Nothing.
okay,
We're all good.
clink.
All good.
You climb about for about 10 minutes. Long
It's a
ladder.
long climb.
Very narrow space. It opens up into a cavernous space. Your dark vision's only 60 feet. You can't see anything beyond it. And your suits don't produce enough light. I imagine they have like the collars light up.
Flashback.
Flashlight. But
Flashback.
Okay.
I grab a big old flashlight and it's on my belt and I pull it up like this.
awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
The
When
flashlight allows you to cast a beam of light up to 120 feet away,
Cool.
but it's only a 5-foot radius, so you can literally knock out 5-foot squares.
Okay.
Real spooky.
Yeah.
Don't get here.
Like one space at a time.
Yeah.
Can I get flashlights bigger than that? Like a
Um,
full on like.
Yeah, but I mean, it would only.
Chunky.
It's the difference
So
between
it's
giving.
like-
It's the difference between being a torch, like giving you an area of light. This is the ability to
You can see
project.
5 foot.
You can see 120 feet away,
Away,
but
okay,
only
okay.
in a 5-foot square.
I see.
So it's a tactical light as opposed to a lighting the area light. As you you get to the end of this ladder, it's quite literally the end of it. The metal piping kind of twists. This facility you can see is built of some sort of concrete. This has a very at least from what you can tell, like what you were climbing down was not a cave. This was something that someone built, almost like a bomb shelter or something.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, built into the bombing apparatus. The other thing you notice in this space is the drip of liquids. And once you put your light down, basically whatever this space was before has been demolished by something, and the entirety of this humongous cavern, this is basically the end of this space. It just goes down into this big empty space. Think like a water treatment plant for like in your head. It's this very utilitarian, whatever this is for, you're not sure, you need to make some checks, and you're not close enough to make those checks. You don't have any information. What is interesting is that a lot of the walls have been broken. There's rebarb?
Yeah,
Rebarb sticking out of concrete. Something was in this space, or there was an explosion, or you can't tell what. But this whole chamber is filled with what seems to be like a slow or still moving lake.
Okay.
You are at 5 scenes, by the way.
Cool.
And you hear the drip, drip, drip. Roll a perception as you guys look around this space.
I also
You can roll with advantage because you got that light.
I'd like to make some kind of like medicine or poison check. if that's possible to see if like what's dripping, what's.
Well, water's
Didn't
dripping.
you say okay? It's just water.
Well,
though?
you don't know.
Are there
You don't
any
know
other,
that. You guys are up on a ladder,
radiation,
you
poison,
are-
chemicals.
70 feet from the surface of this water. So all of you right now are just on a ladder looking around. You have to figure out how you're going to get down, and you've got a grappling hook. So if you wanted to, you can start lowering yourself towards the water if you'd like.
Sure.
Because it's a 10 feet around.
What's this perception check?
What did you roll in your perception?
Not 20.
Cool. What did you roll?
18.
3. Cool. So the space is big and cavernous. There aren't a lot of markings. It is confusing. You said you rolled a 18. You're looking around. You notice none of the traditional markings of any of the corporations. This is a history. This is something. This is from the Golden Age. It's an era of time that is very closely locked off. It's even more locked off than the near history is harder to learn about than the ancient history, and the ancient history is super hard to learn about. So,
Interesting.
but you can tell what it is, but you don't know what this facility is. But it looks like, looking around, you can kind of classify it. Use just a perception, so you're just looking around this space. You do see a platform towards the north wall that kind of sticks up out of the water. One of the only things that seems to be like still part of the structure, and you can see what looks like control panels of some sort. But that's the only like functional looking feature of the room. Otherwise, this is just a big concrete like tank.
Can I grab?
Well, she will. Let me.
Oh yeah,
what
there
were-
you go.
yeah. You are on the ladder still.
I was gonna lower down,
Okay.
see if I could,
To the water.
couldn't get to the platform.
No, the platform is all the way on the north wall, so you're gonna have to drop down and like go to it. There's no, if this is you guys, it's over here.
Okay.
Nat 20.
Mm-hmm.
The water is so like exceptionally quiet, and you are like looking for that dripping sound, just kind of gnawing at the back of your brain. And you can see that along the edges of the wall, that the water is dripping from the ceiling, but the water is coming up from the ground. It's riding up the walls. It's not trickling down the walls like it looks like at 1st glance. You have to stare at it at a moment, and you're able to tell that the trails of water are actually moving up. And as they get up to the top of the ceiling, they're kind of dripping down. And yeah, it's kind of this
It's
whole.
falling down because it's come from the floor.
It's come
kind
from
of.
this pool. There's
Yeah.
a pool of water, and it's coming up. And it's as you're looking around, it's almost like it's starting to rain inside this space. It's getting worse, and it's disconcerting. At first, you don't notice it because it's like drip, 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 and it's wet.
I just I make a comment about how there's something up with this water. What do you wizards know about this?
Looks wet.
Oh, can I roll a nature on it?
Yeah, you're almost at the bottom now. You can stop the winch before you get right to the water. So he's kind of like
I'm gonna
around.
roll a nature
Okay.
on this water first of all.
This water.
28 natures.
Yeah, so you take your arcane actuator and you set out like an extraction rod and you dip it into the liquid and you pull it up, and as you do, it flows like water, but as you pull it up, it's long and gooey and viscous.
Ooh. Weird. Same brainers. What do you smell?
As
Can
you
you smell
pull it back
magic?
at it, you're like, this is not natural. You're like, I know this. Oh no. And as it, like, the liquid kind of, the tension snaps, and when it does, roll me a wisdom saving throw as this liquid
Oh my god.
hits you in the face.
19.
You like feel a presence in your mind, and when you like wipe it off and you hit the return, and very slowly because it does not go fast, you're like, oh no, and you're like, Aboleth, It's an
No.
aboleth.
That's an aboleth.
Yeah. And everyone who doesn't know, everyone else roll
I
me.
don't know.
Roll me
if
a
I-
history check,
Okay.
an intelligence check is fine. If you want to know if you even have any idea what that is.
Nat 20.
Slightly higher than 10, but I'm going to go with no. I don't know what that is.
Perfect. Yeah, once he says that, your heart sinks. You
my
know that
God.
this is a some sort of creature from the ancient age. This is from before Realm. Before Realm was a power. Maybe older than the universe. These things are supposed to be grumpkins or like
They're not supposed to be real.
not supposed to be real. They're not supposed to be. Now you, on the other hand, you know that they're real. You know that it's all magic. Like anytime someone's like, "Oh, that's just made up," you're like, "You're so stupid. We literally have machines powered by magic.
How can you think
How
these
can you
things
think
don't
these
exist?
aren't real?" Yeah.
In the dark parts of the universe, that's where you find them.
The one
I have
thing
a
you know
little-
from your story, and the one thing that just happened, you know that the aboleth enslaves with its mind and with its mucusy touch. That's the story, and that's the thing. So that's
I'd like
the big.
a little flashback to, since I've obviously run into this creature before, I'd like a little flashback of me painting this furiously in an impressionistic way where it's like more viscousy than it is like the actual form of the creature.
Okay.
You know? That's why I'm so terrified of this.
What do you want from that flashback? You just want for flavor. Just
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna.
That nat 20 was because
I won't count that as one of your flashbacks.
I know what an aboleth
Yeah,
is because
Well,
I
and
painted this
probably
shit
aboleth
before.
would be a popular code name. It'd be one of those things that that
that
you would
makes
have
sense.
you would have heard the word aboleth,
Uh-huh.
but as far as what it actually is, you'd have to find a person like Chester. And so the two of you kind of talking,
see.
you're having a moment. Meanwhile, I'm going to give you, because of her great role and them role playing, I'm going to give you advantage on another perception check because they're kind of like connecting.
It's
like in the moment, like
you know what an
Yeah.
aboleth is, don't you? Like,
Yes.
yes, they're
What I'd
awful. They're
actually
going
like
to
do
enslave us
is
and
take
eat
her
our
flashlight
minds.
and cast levitate
You're
and
just
go over
freaking
there.
out. She's
Shit,
like,
and
oh
this thing's
my
like
God.
going only like 10
She's
feet.
like, oh my
Just-
God,
can
he's
you just-
right.
you can levitate
This
yourself
crazy
right
guy
Because
is
this
right.
thing just
He
going
grabbed,
faster.
he grabbed your light. He's like, hey, let me see that. He takes your light.
Yeah, sure, here.
He said he casts levitate on himself and he flies over to the other platform.
Where the fuck is he going?
Cool.
Back
Yeah, and as he's like,
Z.
you're like over there. Now, what you could do is you could lower the thing about halfway, and if you guys rock.
Oh no, I've got a plan.
Okay.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
As he's
Go for
flying over, you're like, sorry.
You
What's
guys
your
were
AC?
Having a thing.
It's fine. Go check it out.
17.
We'll meet you over there.
As he's like, sorry, a tentacle burst
Burst!
Burst
The burst!
through.
Burst through the
It-
lock.
Bursts through the lock. It wraps around
Through the
your foot and attempts to pull you under.
Oh.
You're going to take.
Can I react and add 5 to my AC? Would that have changed?
What will
anything?
make it?
I'm sorry?
What will make it?
It would have made it a 22.
A 22. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't use it.
Okay.
I guess I should have made you use it. You can keep it. You can keep the spell slot, but it would not work. You're only gonna take. You're only gonna take 10 damage, 10
Okay.
bludgeoning damage, but you have to make a Constitution saving throw.
Nope.
You can roll
Or I'll keep
it's a
that.
19.
20.
Yeah, you you can feel like as the tentacle wraps around you, this like mercurial liquid, this slimy silvery liquid starts going up your legs. And it starts trying to invade all of your orifices, trying to like throw you over, and you're able to like let's see, you are not actually grappled. I think I was just saying that for flavor. Yeah. So you kind of like swat away from it, and you kind of fly, and you can get over to the platform. When that happens, the tentacle stays where it is, and then multiple other tentacles kind of rise out of the space. the creature itself does not like just like pop up out of the water to like talk to you. It doesn't have to. It basically is gonna pull a Alice in Wonderland and be like, "Who are you?"
Z, Omega, what's your name?
What was his first pet's name?
Carrie.
Carrie.
That's weird.
That's
I had a fish named Carrie.
Basically, it's like, I know. And it says to you something along the lines of like, doomed to repeat the mistakes of our fathers over and over and over and over again.
That's comforting.
And something similar to all of you, like basically saying, I know your sins, I know your fears. Like it might probe in your mind. And this is all private, so you can't hear each other. It's just like when speaking to each of you individually. As it's talking to him, it's overlapping talking to each of you at the same time. And it like will say like, why do you have the book, Jester? It is purely luck. You will die. And it's just like saying all these like
What is
awful.
happening?
You're being mean.
It's just around this time you kind of get down to the console, and you put out your device and you look at the scan. It's coming from inside this room, so it's probably underneath whatever the source is. It's probably underneath all inside the pool, underneath the obelisk.
Can I shine my flashlight down there and see like what's? Oh, you have my flashlight. Okay, cool.
This?
Yes, that. Damn it.
Just hanging from that ladder.
Shit. Yeah, I'm still in love.
Okay, let's go ahead and position you guys around the room. So what did you want to do, Chester?
I'm gonna just try and swing to the platform.
Okay, cool. So you get about halfway there. And why don't you go ahead and you take a round to just kind of swing back and forth and gain some momentum. If you do it this way, you'll have to cut the rope. It will no longer work. You'll have to like reload. You'll have to get a new grappling.
Oh, well, then I'm not gonna do that. Then I'm gonna cast since there's floating disc underneath me, and I'm gonna detach and land on it. And I'm gonna shoot the grappling hook over to the platform and start revealing myself.
Can I also land on it? Can it carry my weight?
Yeah, it can hold 500 pounds.
Can I'll drop down on
Yeah,
it.
it can float 3 feet above the ground.
Quick drop.
Yeah, so it starts to drop. You both land on it, and you pull you put the hook on there. It starts to pull you over. As it does, you're right by the water. Tentacles start
That's funny.
coming at
Dodging
both of you
tentacles.
guys. What's your AC?
17.
Okay, you're able to like, whoa! Like they're coming at us, and you jump out of the way.
Hey, Carrie, can you cool it?
It's like you will. It's.
Do not trust your friends, man.
It is saying things. It's saying things with a lot of like contempt, and it's probing your brain, and all those things make sense. The things it's saying to you, but anytime you try to structure any kind of like thoughts, or anytime you're trying to like have a conversation with it, it can only speak in really broken, like fragmented thoughts. Like it keeps talking about. Specifically about somebody called Raylo the Wise. Like he's just yelling about a wizard or something, or an elf, and break the pact of the ancients. Just like screaming about this, like, and it doesn't. It almost. Like when you ask it, if you ask it its name again, it will pick a different feature from your past and say its name is that. So
it's just like
everyone
familiar
roll
to
me
us.
an insight as it's kind of yelling at you. It misses you. What's your AC, Chest?
15.
It hits you with its tentacle.
Shield.
Which puts you at
20.
20.
Nice.
And no, it still hits you.
Oh.
Knocking through the shield. But not knocking you off the platform, kind of knocking you down onto the disc. And you'll take 11 damage. Make me a Constitution saving throw, please.
My bracer activates and will do magic missile at second level.
Awesome. Go ahead and roll that damage.
I need some d4s.
Here's 2.
Perfect. Thank you.
What? What is that?
You just settled on this blanket.
12 force damage.
Sweet.
Nice. 12, you said?
12 force damage.
Yeah. And as you hit it, it shrieks. Not expecting that, or even quite understanding what just happened to it. And on that insight, basically, you guys can all tell that this creature isn't the way it's supposed to be. Something's wrong with it. Something's been done to its mind. It is not. Aboleths are, Chester, you know, Aboleths are living libraries. They collect information and they store it in their vaults. Their memories are impeccable. They're supposed to be highly intelligent. But this one seems, something seems to be wrong with it. And beyond that, it's not moving. Like its tentacles moving around, you can't see its tail. It doesn't seem to be like swimming in this space. And you guys get all the way across and up on the platform, and the platform is just high enough that the aboleth can't reach you. But once you're out of its rage, it starts screaming about like the blood pact of the ancients, just kind of like yelling its own like monologue, and it starts wrapping its tentacles around the platform and starts trying to pull you in. Everyone roll me a wisdom saving throw. Remember that this liquid is just falling all over you guys now out of the sky, and through it he can enforce his enslavability.
26.
Nice.
You succeed.
15.
You succeed.
15.
You succeed. That's the second one he's done of those.
Do you know anything about charms and aboleths?
The skin of our balls.
I don't know. Let me. What do I roll for that? Would I roll a nature?
You mean about what?
If like a charm spell would work on an aboleth.
I think the better question would be, look at the spell's text. You're not going to be able to cast any spell that requires you see the target because it's hidden by this veil of like silvery, mucousy liquid. So you can target its tentacles with attacks, but you can't target its brain.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that you would know that much.
Okay.
As far as the other stuff goes, you've already rolled really high. I think you would know that the spells would function as usual if you were able to see it. Both of you guys roll me a perception as you look around this space.
11.
Okay. Yeah, you're looking at the console specifically. It's all marked in Dwarven, which is not uncommon. But it's all like dwarf. It's like utilitarian. There's like there's an on switch, an off switch, a standby lever. There's all these things, and there's not a lot of like context.
On.
Okay. When you do that, you hear and these big vents on this big grates on the side of the walls kind of shift open, and liquid starts to pour in to this space. And when you do that, not only does the things close, but the liquid stops dripping, and for a moment, the aboleth is gone from your mind. The moment you guys kind of like walk over to the edge and look over, its tentacles, like it's even having a hard time remembering that you're in this space. Cool. Do you want to roll another Arcana on that console to see if you can?
Yeah,
you can
that would be useful now that
Yeah.
we've.
establish
F
that it
with
does
it.
stuff. Yeah.
I'll make a check on it.
Okay.
Well, he's
20.
Yeah, he's got it.
4-ish.
There is a bypass circuit, which would be really useful if Tin was here. You
Yeah.
just hop inside of it. Otherwise, you can tell that you kind of like are able to pull up a sequencer on your device, and you know that you can probably get manual control over this, but it's going to take you probably about an hour.
Okay.
flashback.
Okay.
I'm gonna hacking tool on my arcane screwdriver.
You're like, oh, but can
Wait,
what if
hold
I?
on. I know there's a this one.
Yeah, and then we flash back, and Odos is like, he just like taps it, and then like a bottom part of it just like boom, like it was always there.
Cool.
Yeah, so you go ahead and you plug that in. Go ahead and you can make an Arcana check with that.
Awesome.
Can
22.
Cool. 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're able to bypass that. When you do, he gets full access of it, but all the systems go active. So everybody's away from the table.
You want to take a
So,
break?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take a break. We will be RB. Stay tuned. No, you're fine. We're on break.
Oh, cool.
right, to set the scene back up, we are inside of this giant bomb, this planet-destroying bomb,
Neat.
or planet-affecting bomb. That center cavity is filled with some sort of chamber that's holding an aboleth. You are on a platform that used to be built into a series of platforms that overlook this tank. You can tell now, but have been ripped down to mostly just columns with rebarb sticking out. And then this one main platform you're on still has clearly its control panel. It was kind of this. It was already its own little standalone like kiosk that like shifting bridges could go to. So you guys are there. Z is connected to the device's mainframe via your hacking apparatus, and you are just barely out of the reach of the aboleth, but it has started to reach its tentacles around this the statue on the platform that you're on, and starting to pull it down. And you can feel it, the metal bending as the concrete that it's built in starts to kind of rip and fragment. When this happens, pipes on the wall burst, spraying lots of liquid on all three of you.
Oh,
Make me a what
Check.
kind of saving throw?
Wisdom?
It had been wisdom.
It is a wisdom then. Yeah, wisdom saving throw. Make it with disadvantage because of the sheer force of liquid.
16.
These dice are
Okay.
broken.
I'm going to use my last luck point.
Okay.
It's a saving. Oh, luck.
Oh, I can't
Luck.
Only for one thing better.
can luck on this. I will luck on
Yeah,
this.
do it.
That is better.
Just pissed.
18.
Fine. What'd you roll?
11.
Finally.
Oh,
You're dead.
You're dead.
you die. Finally, you die.
You feel the aboleth in your mind. It says to you something, but it doesn't make sense at all. And it's kind of like filling your brain. You can't really. You start to lose your sense of self. You're also just enraged. Like you just feel like horrible rage. So much so that you want to attack whoever is closer to you. Roll a d4, evens, odds.
Yay.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, he's so nervous.
Evens.
Sorry, buddy, old pal.
As he's getting into the system, go ahead and make me an Arcana check. One more to
Arcana it up for 17.
okay, 17. I'll let you take one action before,
Before I get
as this is happening, you like turn around. Now the good news is you can't cast spells like this. Your brain's not working. So you take the book, and he walks up behind him.
I have one arm.
You do, and you pull and use both of your arms.
God.
That's just gonna pull that tendon worse.
You're gonna take 7
15,000.
slashing damage, piercing damage, ripping damage as you literally in your rage pull those muscles apart.
Oh my god.
But
and
it's like chiropractic.
yeah, no, when he does, you rip the flesh. You start to bleed.
Oh,
Not
not
quite.
like chiropractic.
You have full range of
Not
motion
legally,
again,
anyway.
though. But you are bleeding pretty profusely now, so you'll take a level of exhaustion
Chester.
if it doesn't get treated.
That
in
sounds
the next
horrible.
3 rounds.
Oh god.
Yeah, you're bleeding really bad, but you've got full range of motion, and you scream, and when he does, he lunges at you. And what are you trying to do over there?
I suppose the first thing would be draining the water.
Okay, so you hit the drain button, and as he does that, whack, he's gonna hit you over the back of the head. Go ahead and make, or attempt to. Go ahead and make me an attack roll with advantage. just using your strength modifier.
12.
What's your AC?
17.
Yeah, perfect. So he swings at you, and you're like, what? And you just like duck out of the way. And remember, you can see delineated time, so it's like all the different paths of you hitting them over the head at the same time. And so you're just like bobbing and
With you,
leaving.
like, this is the only possible successful-ish.
Do you want to react and help out in the situation? Try to restrain your friend, or punch him, or shoot him?
Kill him.
Kill him? He is a bad guy now, technically.
Chester?
Yeah. I'm gonna shoot him right in the kneecap.
All right, you want to do a cold shot?
Yeah.
All right, spend a hero point, and
She will have no leg. Be a one-armed hopping man.
I'm not gonna kill you.
Just knock him into the water on accident.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. What does a cold shot mean?
it means that you said you wanted to call the shot to hit him in the knee. So you have to roll with disadvantage. You spend a hero point, and if you get it, something beyond just damage will happen to it.
Magical. Shit. 8 plus 7 is 15 to hit.
What's your AC?
Right?
15.
15, yeah, so you hit him.
Great. There you go.
When you do that, he is knocked prone, so you're going to fall over. And roll
Can
your
I
damage.
go to him? Oh, okay.
Yeah, roll your damage.
His damage is... Oh, I'm sorry. It's a lot. Not a lot, but I mean, it's
Her
good.
instinct was to shoot you in the knee.
Seems totally
super
in
appropriate.
character.
Yeah.
I'm knocking you out of it.
No, I'm gonna give you all. I'm gonna give you all hero points actually because I think it's really funny.
10.
But
Actually been Lucy's response to
To
literally
everything.
every
No,
situation.
Actually, it's 14.
all right, Diablo is
Sorry,
gonna use
Chester.
its legendary action.
I'm down.
Oh, no.
And as while you're
I'm
down,
coming to you, man.
it's gonna use its legendary action to use a psychic drain as you're falling, and it's gonna cause you to take one death save.
Death fail.
Yeah, death fail. Sorry. Okay, cool.
Can I go now?
You just did.
I can't interrupt.
That's its legendary action.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna use.
You're right. That
yeah.
only happens once per.
That happens at the end. At the end of turns. So he's
Okay.
gonna use his interrupt point to go, since he hasn't yet.
But wait,
And-
I haven't used all my actions. I have 2 attacks and I have bonus actions.
Okay, that's fine.
Murder
That's all.
Chester.
Can I toss? Oh, he's unconscious.
Yeah, you
I
killed-
wanna-
You killed him.
Can I kill him? Can I shoot him? Can I shoot him one more time? That would be so funny. Lucy stands over you like,
Try to
fucking
revive him
gotcha.
with a shot to the head.
right?
Dude, I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't even
Oh man,
be
I am
mad.
We're not
going to.
trying to kill you.
I am gonna make a recaster that only heals. A gun that only heals people. With.
Oh my god, that would be such
All right,
an
well,
amazing
I was
plot
gonna
hook.
He's dying.
I was gonna try to give him my vapor cola to give him 1 HP.
That's a temporary hit point.
Oh, yeah.
So that can't happen?
It will only give him a temporary hit point, which will not revive him. He's still unconscious. It's not a real hit point.
I can't help you, man. I'm sorry.
You can do a medicine check.
Yeah.
But you've already used your action this
Right.
turn. Do you have any bonus actions?
Yeah,
I have a can of Revital Heal Drink in a pocket that you probably know about,
okay.
if that's a thing that you want.
I'm really fast. Yeah, I'll run and try to grab that thing from him.
Is this a large platform? In my head, it's been fairly small.
It's 20 feet.
Okay.
Can I use my bonus action to dash over to where Z
I
is?
think we're all
You
next
can
to each
move
other.
next to him.
Like,
You're,
he
yeah,
just
you're,
tried to hit me with a
I
book.
just said it's
Oh,
only,
that's right,
only-
you're right
it's
here.
only 20 feet away. You have
Okay.
30 feet of movement. You don't need a dash.
I do though.
I'm gonna move extra fast.
I do. Well, I just shot him.
Bryce,
so.
I misspoke. You did not take a level of. You did not take a level. I'm sorry. You did not take a death fail because once you go unconscious, the enslave effect ends.
Oh, see, it was all a clever plan. Lucy's got your
Yeah. So actually, she wasn't a terrible plan. She did stop you from being under its spell.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Sure.
I gotta knock you out of it.
Yeah.
My recaster went down to a D6 ammo die, so like we're even.
We've all lost things.
We've
That's all I'm trying to say.
We've
The Aboleth
all
is going
lost
to
things,
use
Chester.
its turn to
I'm
pull.
still
Jesus.
unconscious.
Jesus.
The Aboleth uses its turn to pull even further on the structure. Everyone make me a dex save as it goes at a hard 45.
Chester
I
fails.
fail.
Chester fails. You slide off into the water. Now you can make me a death fail as you fall 40 feet head first into
Oh, no.
mucus water. All right, there we go. Now you're dying.
Oh,
18.
man.
18. Yeah, you start to slide, and you're able to grab onto one of the cables that you had to pull out of the console. So you're literally like hanging onto the console. What did you roll?
22.
Yeah, you are standing on top of the console. Like as it started to fall, you just like stepped over and onto it. So you're like looking down. The camera pans up over you, and you're like, whoa! And you slide, and he's in the water.
Ooh, flashback to 3 seconds ago when I swiped his
no.
grappling
You
gun.
misunderstand how that works.
Damn it.
But I like this
Damn
as
it.
a miscommunication.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. But that's not how that works.
I swiped it.
It's gotta be a flashback to specifically. I said specifically to the workshop.
Did you?
Well, it doesn't matter if I didn't. Then I'm saying it now.
Okay.
I don't have to. I don't have to
teasing.
explain
Okay, I
anything.
mean, it was an idea. I threw it out there.
No, it's
You
good.
said no.
It's a clever idea, but no, it's not gonna work. Chester, well, you make me a death save. I get disadvantage
Oh, no.
since there's water going into your.
No.
Are you conscious again?
No,
No.
No, he's just drowning.
I succeed.
All right, good. So as debris falls down, you're just like very likely like on like bobbing on one, and it's still plunging you under, but you haven't fallen completely. Who do you want to go next?
Z. If
Someone
I
who
let her
might
go,
not
she's
kill
just gonna
me,
shoot
or-
me again.
Someone who's not gonna shoot me.
At the end of your turn, before it gets his turn, at the end of your turn, Bryce, the Aboleth is going to make one tail attack. Not at you, at you.
It's like,
No.
wow, he hates Chester.
This way, man.
Get out of my campaign.
Maybe when he dies.
Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah, and the tail.
Lucy would feel
like
really
a blade.
guilty.
You can see that
This
that
would be a good
it
change.
has some
Really
sort of like
awful.
series of
I
metal
didn't mean to kill
like
you.
tentacle, like things on the tentacle, like manacles, and they've been like ruptured. So it's this like giant metal and like flesh thing, and it whips up at you, and it hits you. And it's
I'd like to try to shield.
go for it.
So it's +5 to whatever its attack roll was.
What? No.
To my AC, so
Yeah,
22.
22. Okay. Yeah. So that works. Yeah. It comes up and you're able to throw the shield up and it hits the shield and you can see the magic crack, like fissure or whatever.
Right.
But it's fine. Okay. It's your turn now.
So one, I would like to cast Levitate on Chester's body.
Is it a ranged spell?
It is a ranged spell.
If not, you do have a ferret you could throw.
Hurling a ferret.
You know what? I'm actually going to roll a ferret as well to guard the body.
There you go.
Ferret, go!
So yeah, Chester and a ferret are now levitating.
No, we'll have him make a dex save, obviously. Fred. Fred, you can just toss him.
Fred,
This is dangerous. This isn't regular water. This is a high stakes.
Water.
People,
high stakes water.
people
This is
die
high
here,
stakes
man.
water,
High
man.
stakes water.
People die here, man.
This is
All right,
Aboleth goo.
making a ranged attack with Fred.
There you go.
I just love rolling
12?
this die.
Yes. Just had to be a 10. So yeah, you hit him on there, and he starts to levitate, and you just kind of like. But doesn't the levitation? Doesn't he have to control it?
No, I
I know it will push him up above the ground, but you can't make him fly with it, right?
right?
I'm actually pretty sure that when it's cast on another thing, I control
You control it? Oh, that's
This one's been higher literally every time I've rolled.
That's so cool.
It's not.
You can change the target's altitude by up to 20 feet in either direction on your turn.
Perfect.
So I'm
Yeah,
raising
yeah.
it
So you
20
just,
feet.
that's it. That's actually a cooler spell than I thought it was. Yeah. So you get him up out of the air. When he does that, make me another death save. This one, not at
Portent
disadvantage.
natural 20. You're
Perfect.
alive with 1 hit point.
Nice.
Yay!
Because the ferret sends a slight
Oh,
shock
I love it. I
into
love it.
your body.
Yeah.
This is the one way Chester might not die.
The camera lets
You have
us
1
see.
hit point. You are awake. That's wonderful. I have a hero point. Nathan.
The camera lets us see a little bit of relief in Lucy's eyes.
Yes. There you go. Because you didn't kill him. God. At this point, the water is starting to completely drain from the space. You can see that the grates in the bottom of the tank, like the concrete shifted down, parts of it like this, and all this liquid's kind of gone inside. The aboleth, as the liquid kind of washes away, you can see is like strapped to the bottom of this machine. It's gargantuan. It's humongous. But its tentacles, you were only seeing the top parts of, so it's even bigger than what it was. It's
Yeah.
wrapped all the way
Oh,
around
God.
the edge. It looks like it does not look like despite having tentacles and a tail, it does not look like a sea. It doesn't look like a squid or a kraken. It really has a very strange and alien configuration. I imagine in my head that it looks like it folds into itself like tubes. I would think more like Alien. What's the artist? Geiger.
H.R. Geiger.
H.R. Geiger. Yeah. Like that. Lots of hero point. Lots of and invariably lots of sharp edges, and I guess vagina imagery if you have to go there. But
I was seeing it already.
But in the center of this, on this person, on its body, like bisecting its line of eyes, there is a turbine and a device that's built into this. So yeah, you're right. This room was not only the payload but also the source of energy. They used the liquid in the form of like hydroelectricity, and it was this whole like very elaborate, dirty like confusion bomb, like this thing. And as the liquid starts to seep out, the voice of the aboleth starts to regress to like a childlike state. And it doesn't. It just it kind of just gives up. It doesn't really once you drain the liquid out of the room, it's just not sure how to function. It's lost all of its sense of itself. So as you look at this thing, kind of built into it and around it like a metal mountain, this harness, at the very top of it is some sort of glowing like pinpoint of energy and light. You hold up your scanner and you can see that's the thing. Let me grab a Dungeon Master's guide.
Oh no.
No.
Thank you for saving my life.
This is a good one.
So
Who
welcome.
wants to roll the D100 to see what magic item?
I saved all of our lives.
To see what magic item is.
Chester
Chester
killing us.
has taken the most beating.
No, Chester, why don't you roll a D100?
No one's gonna thank me.
No.
How did
we
you
are
save
not.
us?
Scary cold bitch with the gun.
That seems how you played it. That seems accurate.
I am.
20.
I am exactly what I said I was.
Sorry.
I'm picking off the last table. Table I.
No, not table I. I need to plug my phone in.
I swear it's 100.
Eat these, babe.
Oh, it's this triple.
No, lay down. No need to get riled up because I stood up. Come on. Lay down. Come on. Lay down.
Where, oh, where did that thing go? you see that embedded into almost a receptacle made for it, like quite literally, like sword in the stonewalk style, there is the hilt of a blade that is sticking up out of this machine that seems to be the linchpin of this whole magical apparatus. Do you want to roll? Do you have identify?
I have it on my goggles at will.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Also, I am fucked up. You guys have
Yeah,
like...
someone needs to
you're
help you.
levitating.
Yeah, I'm like levitating out over this. I was like,
Cool.
I mean,
can someone...
I
help?
grabbed the thing. What was it?
It's a cola of some sort. Revital health drink.
Yeah, it's a health drink. It's like
news.
4. It's 4d4 plus 4.
4d4 plus 4. You can toss it to him.
Cool. I will.
Yeah, there you go. Drink that up.
Drink this up.
Oh god, I'll drink it up. I drink it up!
Drink it up.
40.
Nice.
Nice.
Let's get back in the game, buddy.
Yeah. So you drink that, and you're like, oh, and all your little wounds kind of.
Yeah.
You feel a lot
Thank
better.
you.
You're
Sorry.
welcome.
Sorry
kind
I
of
almost die so much.
I like
Not
that because-
thank you to you.
So
You
literally
shot
have,
me.
You owe me.
literally have
No!
to like, control
I have
that.
to
You're
control
welcome,
it,
man.
So he can do
I
whatever
don't.
he
You
wants.
just let me down.
Anytime. You're welcome.
You're the worst.
You know, you owe me, but
You're terrible
worry
at killing
about it.
people.
Well, I imagine that as soon as you get close enough to the magic sword, though, like,
Oh, yeah.
you're like, oh, who that?
What?
No, who
What?
cares? That's fine.
Like,
That's fine.
Pusher.
Um,
what?
This sword is a sword, one of the fabled swords of answering. It is a legendary longsword.
Ooh,
Its name is Backtalker.
Oh my God.
It has a gemstone that is jet black. Its alignment is chaotic evil. Now, I know I said we don't have alignments in this setting, but
This thing has an alignment.
in as far as like determining these things, it's a matter of like maintaining. So if you have you can attune to something that, you know, if you do lawful good stuff most of the time, you can attune to a lawful evil item. But the moment you're not lawful evil, the item will disconnect from you, rebuke you, hurt you. There'll be backlash. There's like a magical backlash when you work out of its setting. This sword is +3 to attack and damage rolls made with the sword. Additionally, while you hold this sword, you can use your reaction to make one melee attack with it against any creature in your reach that deals damage to you. You have advantage on the roll, and any damage dealt with this special attack ignores any damage immunity or resistance the target has. So these swords of answering, if you get hit, you get to use your reaction to
Hit
them
back.
back. Of course, you have to be proficient with long swords. That's the other side of that. Also, this one is pure evil. So as you like reach out to touch it, you can tell that this thing specifically is being used to disrupt the Aboleth's mind and cause it to have this like scattered and like to be able to be used as a weapon. So why don't we end the session there, because you have a few options with this now, depending on what kind of characters you are and what you want to play. You can take this bomb. The Aboleth is inside of it. You could leave. You could potentially. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you can't do that.
I mean,
you can take the sword. The sword is pure evil and has its own like dangers of carrying around, but it's also worth a ton. There are 9 of these swords. So
I mean,
here or in
Our-
existence?
I mean, Chester would want
Okay.
to.
here, there are 9 of us. They're just hanging out.
I'm just
Ding, 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 ding.
wondering.
They're all over
That
the place.
there's 9 of them
Chester
exist,
would
you
want
mean?
to excavate it, like a dig. Like he would want to just dig it out around it and take it out of there.
Out of the machine that's built into.
Yeah,
You could do that. It would take a crew though. So if you what I'm saying is you couldn't do that right now, but you could
That could be
return
done.
to this place and you could do that. You need a crew. You
oh
need
for
a
sure.
machine.
No. That's just what he would. That's what his character would naturally do because that's.
Now you can
His
take
background.
the sword just by grabbing the sword and pulling it out.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't advise doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
advise him that.
No, you're levitating.
Um,
You're back.
I wouldn't advise letting.
The other side of
Don't
that is
touch
the
it.
aboleth is still very much alive,
Right.
and its mental state is questionable.
Yeah. Is there a kill mechanic in the little terminal business?
Roll me a Arcana as you search through the index.
Use one of those hero points. That's better. 19.
You know that if you
Serpent's always talking about.
you know that if you activate the igniter when the tank is empty, that it will cause the aboleth undue psychic strain. The water the liquid is a resonating force, and it pads him from it as well as amplifies it. So it'd be like pouring all the power through one circuit instead of the whole network,
Okay.
and it will literally burn his brain out.
And gut feeling, divination, wizardy
Mhm.
business on this. Is there any good this thing's gonna do in the world?
This aboleth? I mean, you know that it's inherently they're inherently selfish and they may not be evil, but what they want does not line up with what's best for people. That being said, this creature also holds immense knowledge. So these aboleths are like living computers.
Mm.
They have this. There is a record of existence inside of its head that travels back all the way to creation, and if you could tap into that information, is maybe the only thing that you as a person can own in the void. So there are a few things here. I'm not saying you have to do any of this stuff right now,
Yeah.
but basically, you guys could we'll cut the next scene. You still have 4 scenes. You can talk to Ned outside, and you can tell him as much as you want. You can have him.
We've got access to a megadorf. He could build an apparatus to extract the memories from this thing.
Probably.
Cool.
So this is more of a if we were drawing a map of our travels,
Mm-hmm.
you would have Folly on your map, and it would be out here
Mm-hmm.
because you took a Starliner to get where you are now,
Right.
basically. So the direct route isn't quite there. You'd have to re-travel that, but you know where it is. You know where Realm is because you've been to Realm. Realm is all the way up there, and this planet, this little moon, has now become a little hub space where you guys can return to in this sector. As you return,
Home base!
As you return on the ship up, I imagine that at least the convenient thing right now is maybe don't tell Ned everything.
Right.
But if you leave him your power packs, he can start his relay, and then you can communicate with him.
Okay.
So if you're okay with having a tenuous relationship with him, he can basically guard it for you without him knowing what's inside of it.
Okay.
You run the risk eventually of him figuring it out and trying to turn it against you. So we'll role play that, you know what I mean. Maybe each session I'll make you make a check with him, call him, check in, and maybe things will have happened. But
Okay.
until you create another plan,
Okay.
you don't have to sit with that. But that's what we'll do right now. And that bomb's there. The aboleth is still there. You would know that you would have to refill the tank before you leave, or at least add some water to the tank, or it will die. So going back inside of it again will be hazardous. It's not like you've made it completely safe and clear to go inside of. So it kind of, that's the way of protecting the sword and keeping that out of it as well. So you'd have to do that. But that's the thing. So you've got that apparatus there. There are options there. And as we go through the world, remember those little places on the map.
Yep.
Because you can always go, oh, we did that thing a while back. Jake, can we use that for this thing? And I'll be like, yeah, probably. No way. As we get back to the ship, or back to the temple, Odos is like wiping grease off of his hands, and he's like, what'd you find? You know, anything interesting? And before you can answer, he's like, nothing. And he just kind of walks on, and behind him is Adam, who is like standing behind him. He looks a little more in sorts. He's looks a little more assimilated, and when he speaks to you, he speaks in a normal, like not minus that robotic disconnect that he had before. You also notice that the shard that was inside of his head has been removed, and basically he explains that Odos has been able to he was able to save his mother, who is the ship. So Odos was able to build a new body for it out of tissue that he had. Like basically the automators, they can fabricate anything. They're super fabricators, and he was able to remove the ship from Adam.
Cool.
And the ship is Adam's mother. She's not like the ships aren't. They're only like semi-conscious, kind of like Farscape.
Okay.
But now Adam is a separate entity from it, and it is a full ship. So it no longer can like morph into the size. You don't have that thing going on anymore. But you also don't have your ship dies. Adam falls asleep, turns into a person. Like it's a concrete ship now.
Okay.
It's much easier to upgrade. I'm gonna have a list of new things inside of it, but the ship itself will have levels equal to you now, and we'll level up when you guys level up. And every time you guys level up, it gets a new room, and a room is just a space that you can purchase equipment for. And the ships, as we get them, they're just literally, the ships will be a stack of index cards.
Cool.
That you'll just flip through in each of the rooms.
Sweet.
So you'll have like your med bay, which you've already described what that does. He did outfit it with a gun. I'll explain how the guns work. You've got a comms bay. It's a full ship now. So it's got all of its ship functions. And as you guys kind of go off on this next set of adventures, you'll be able to kind of have a little more like we're kind of fomented. The other thing he added to it is a I don't know what I want to call it, but it's like a tesseract chamber. So you'll be able to walk from the room inside your ship to his temple, to his workshop. So you can teleport from inside the ship to inside his laboratory as if it was a room inside of it.
Okay.
You cannot
anywhere.
You cannot exit into his world. It's like a trans-dimensional thing where you are bending space and time to make his workshop one of your rooms.
Okay.
But you can't now. The front door no longer works for you. It just walks you back out into the hallway.
Okay.
So yeah. So effectively, this guy Odos is a new NPC that travels with you, but he doesn't actually travel. So
That's super cool.
That's really
So now we've got.
the other thing you'll notice is that he does not make things at request. So that's kind of like the ups and downs of interacting with him is like if you ask him for specific things, sometimes he'll just say no, I can't, or I won't. Yeah, he claims to have his own like set of plans and I think that maybe you with your timeline things kind of understands that they see things in more of a fourth dimensional style.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. So that's good. I'll have your ship as a stack of cards next time, and we'll go over that, and then think about what you guys want to do next. It's just the three of you guys, so it's up to y'all. Think about which is the where I know Realm is like the big place to go to next.
Right.
And if you want to do that via ship, that's fine. If you want to go via ship, then we need to think about: are you trying to make the most direct route, the sneakiest route, or the quickest route? The quickest or sneakiest. We'll have to figure those things out. So
Lucy would probably be pushing for how do we make a nice, sneaky, stealthy entry back into Realm.
Mhm.
I would imagine.
Well, the ship has. Let's see. You had a medium size.
Or at least I don't. She probably.
The ship has 4 charges in it now, so it can jump 4 sectors a day. Where you're at now, it would take you.
Lucy's skills will come in handy, like more so on Realm than like getting it.
Sure. If you guys just want to take the most direct route, I'm not as interested in like rolling each day,
Right.
each like,
Yeah.
jump, if that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Instead, I would say that the most direct route will obviously have a very big obstacle, a very dramatic obstacle.
Right.
Yeah.
The same way that the scenes
We'll have
work.
to get past
You can
it.
smash cut basically to getting to Realm, but in the meantime, we'll have a session. The session will be an interceder of that. If you want to go the more stealthy route, it'll be a little bit more of like the other side of that, of us traveling spot to spot. Nothing may happen. It might be more of like a dungeon crawl through space.
Okay.
So I whatever you guys, maybe that's
The first option.
a better way to describe this. Yeah, if you want to do a more of like another scenario based action sequence next session, then that's the direct route. If you want to do a more of a let's sneak around, let's role play, we can stop at towns and we can make our way over the next session,
I see.
that would be the sneaky route. So
Okay.
it's whatever you think is the more fun
Okay.
gameplay route.
I
Either,
see.
there will be risk in either or. You'll probably have a chance for more role play in the we're jumping from sector to sector kind of thing. But
Okay.
there's also the chance for more kind of off the wall danger.
Can we lay low here for a little bit and like take an extended rest so I can get my hit dice back?
Yeah. We can start the
Is that
next
good with
session
you
with you guys
guys?
having taken an extended rest. That
Yeah, I'm down with that.
that doesn't hurt anybody's timelines. Remember hiding out. Ducard says that he thinks that maybe that's even a great. He's
Yeah.
like, I think that's a great idea.
Well, and I would say the aboleth debate probably takes a little bit of time that we can do off.
Yeah, and Ducard is in this area. He's kind of like this is out of the realm of the Templar. This is beyond like the ancient realms. So I would leave this honestly in the hands of what you think is best to do with it. He says, I think the creature's foul, but I also hate the idea of destroying that much information, destroying that much history.
Yeah, what if we just
It's
leave
so
it
much
alone?
knowledge.
Says we could do that too, but then we have to make sure it doesn't fall in anyone's hands. So basically, he's going to defer to you guys on that. At the end of an extended rest, you notice that he looks about 15 years younger. Remember that he looked really old at the end of last session because of some magics.
What's he look like now? What's this person look like in my head?
He's Liam Neeson.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Then that's this session. Just we can message on the Voidwalker
Cool.
chain, decide which one of you guys want to do. But
Sounds good.
Other than that, did you hear what I said? So the next session we can the fast route is like a dramatic scenario kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like we're gonna go the most direct route, but it's gonna smash cut. I'll have
We'll
something.
get straight there, but there will be.
But
like a big
something
thing
will
in the
be
way.
trying to stop you, or something will happen, or you'll have to overcome a very like one thing, and then you'll get there.
Sure.
Or you guys can do a more of a sneaky dungeon crawl through space thing where we roll for jumps, and you guys can go to like different planets, and it would be more of like the task is getting there. It takes you a little bit longer in the narration. So it's really what I'm just asking. You guys need to figure out what you want next session to feel like.
All right.
If we do it, the more direct route will probably feel more like a session like tonight, where you guys are running to a scenario that
For sure.
only has like a handful of options or whatever. All right, well, thanks for watching with us, everybody who tuned in. Be sure to come back Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We're doing.
Super deep.
What are we level? Are we on 20?
We're alter deep still.
No, we're not in
Oh.
Ultimate.
Sorry.
Oh.
I got excited.
We're
for a
on
second.
level-
We're not doing that. We're back in the dungeon.
I don't remember what level we're on.
20.
I thought we were on. No.
Oh, is that the Lich?
Yeah, that is level
that
20.
session. Yeah.
right?
Okay, cool. Well, have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
Lich,
Suck
sound
it.
so lich.
Second.